we have another number for Joanne Brown. This might be good. Hi, Miss Brown.
Hold on, let me come up.
I'm sorry?
Hey.
Hi, this is Troy Torres with Kandit News Group. You're live with my viewers. Hello? Holy shit, that's the very first time Joanne Brown has ever shut the fuck up. Hey, I fucking win the title. I made Joanne Brown shut the fuck up. She just fucking hung up. Looks like we have another number for Joanne Brown. This might be good. Hi, Miss Brown.
Hold on, let me come up.
I'm sorry?
Hey.
Hi, this is Troy Torres with Kandit News Group. You're live with my viewers. Hello? Holy shit, that's the very first time Joanne Brown has ever shut the fuck up. Hey, I fucking win the title. I made Joanne Brown shut the fuck up. She just fucking hung up that phone call. She was like, I got somewhere to eat, bitch. Oh, fuck, let's call John Bell. I just fucking farted through my mouth. That was so funny. Let's call John Bell now. Oh, shit, they better give me a goddamn Pulitzer. Never mind, let's just call his cell phone.
Yes, hello?
Hi, Mr. Tydinko.
Dan?
Dan, this is Troy Torres with Kandit News Group. Why did you approve several illegal personnel actions for Joanne Brown? Oh, it's a very serious thing, sir. What a fucking fag. He just hung up. His lawyer was probably like, hang up that phone right now. Your little ass is going to jail.
telling a lie. I never know why you don't know how to tell the truth, 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 truth. You don't know how to tell the truth, yeah. I'm a fool, fool, I've been such a fool. I'm blowing my cool with you right now to tell the truth, 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 truth. You say you went home early last night. It's a lie, lie, you're telling a lie. I never know why you don't know how to tell the truth, 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 truth. You don't know how to tell the truth, yeah. I'm a fool, fool, I've been such a fool. I'm blowing my cool with you right now to tell the truth, 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 truth. You say you went home early last night.
Many accolades and celebrations.
Oh, I love that video. She came back with the serious hits. I think I shared this on my Facebook the other night.
My best friend.
Buenas, my Pernisha. I'm Troy Torres.
And I'm Johnny Rosario.
And I'm Romeo Carlos.
Welcome to this August 30, 2019, Friday edition of One Blog Kandit News Group. Meshed together. Together we are transforming news so that it is
Transforming local news. The
the
Transformers.
illest. It's the illest.
We're transforming it with you guys.
Just so public service announcement. There is a like the big with the lights and everything.
No, they're not there anymore. They're gone. They went somewhere
Oh,
else.
they left?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
They were just hanging out down there because one of the cop cars broke down, so they
I see.
They left.
4 or 5
They
cops.
probably moved up the street right next, just right above.
Above like the Kmart
Yeah.
intersection or something. Anyway, so there's checkpoints tonight, like the big with the lights and the wheelbarrow, whatever those are, and so first of all, be safe while you're driving by because they close off lanes so this can happen. You don't want to hurt any of the police officers who are just doing their jobs. Okay.
Yeah, and you don't want to subscribe to a breathalyzer. Also, you can say no.
How does that work? Can you? Can you?
If you do get pulled over and they're accusing or they think that you're drunk, you can say no to a breathalyzer and go to jail. They're gonna put you in jail because they think so. But you doing the breathalyzer, you just put it on black and white.
So it gives them the evidence.
Yes, against you.
And-
Just That's a public service announcement.
And better to
From me, not from Kandit.
Better to go to jail and spend the night there while you're wasted and not be endangering the lives of other people on the road. Okay.
Sorry, I'm just angry.
I'm sorry. If I sound like a lesbian, it's a little appropriate. It's because I've been
germs.
sick.
I want to show everybody your bottle of NyQuil because you are a druggie.
I didn't have the cap, okay, so I had to wing it. So I've been sick, and it's also appropriate that I sound like a lesbian because we're going to be talking about a SeaWorld kind of lesbian tonight, and an investigation into her. But before we get started, may we please ask you to please share this newscast to your profiles and to the pages that you're on. Share, like, and follow Kandit News Group, Guam Blog, GUAMBLOG with no space in between, and Angel in Disguise, ANGELNDSKIES. Prayers for my Auntie Lang, who is in my grandfather's family. She's the only surviving person in that generation. She's married to my late Uncle Joe. She's in the hospital tonight. She has pneumonia, and
Oh
so.
man, prayers. I didn't know that.
And she's from Derido, Tau Derido. Happy belated birthday to my brother, who, unbeknownst to him, until I actually took it from Choke Supply today. So my brother is the owner of Haga. It's for what do you call that? MMA people?
MMA enthusiasts.
So it's more fight gear, but he also has urban wear, and so this is one of them. I don't even know what this is. Gentle art gear. This says Gloria, like not because his wife's name is Gloria, but because it's like. Oh, and then on the other side is Honra. It's the
Honor and glory.
Yeah, honor and glory. And I don't know does the back say anything?
It says Haga.
It says Haga. Okay.
So you gifted yourself a nice birthday present
Yeah, I
for
went
your
into
brother's
Choke
birthday.
Supply and I was like, this is my birthday. No, I'm just kidding. No, I have to pay my brother the cost. So for his birthday, I got myself something.
One of the models.
And then it has, I don't know if you can see, it has like an inside thing. Anyway, so there's that.
I like this big wave of Kanagawa design.
What's it called?
The big wave of Kanagawa. It's
Oh.
that big wave,
Oh.
that classical Japanese art.
Okay. I didn't know
Kanagawa, yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So,
Nice design.
Yeah,
nice
thank
design.
you. And love and lots of positive energy to one of our besties, Vanessa Navarro.
Yes,
We
send
love you.
positive vibes. I also want to take everybody to Amy Jackson's page. She's having fundraisers for her kids that are in the pageant.
Typey.
Chifey. I believe
On the
they're-
14th?
On the 14th, they're gonna have a
At Buddy's Bill-
yeah. So
Billiards.
if you have any donations that you can help out with
It's only
raffles,
$10, so you can come down and have a good time.
And
support
the
a
good thing
cause.
about where it's at is, even after the fundraiser, it's still your ticket is still good for 1 month after.
Wow.
So that was
Oh.
so yeah. We need to promote that bar.
What do you mean good for 1 month after?
If you buy a ticket,
Oh, you mean like the beer or something?
the beer and what? Yeah, it's good for 1 month after the event.
So if you're former First Lady Christine Calvo or current First Gentleman Jeff Cook, this is a deal, guys. This is like you get alcohol for like it's good for like a month after. You really, I mean, I'm not trying to promote and encourage your addictions or anything like that, but
I also wanted to let everybody know about a friend of mine. His name is Philip. I don't know how to say this last name. I'm gonna fuck it up.
leche.
I call him Phil Toast. Okay. I never knew his last name. I'm just reading it now. It's Cabanayan, right?
Kabanayan.
Cabanayan. Philip Cabanayan has a son who goes by the name of Young Sushi, and
Cool
he
name.
has a. They just we're promoting his what is this? It's a song on, like it's a rap song. What is it called?
Hip hop?
No, it's we're promoting his.
SoundCloud, Spotify.
It's a
Demo?
song. Yeah, it's called Demons. And I'll post it up on the comments and on
Okay.
our page to get him more.
Let's see, if we were platforming on YouTube, we could actually put that link right into our own comments.
Okay.
We are platforming on YouTube.
You could put it right onto the screen, in fact.
No, we are platforming on. We're live on YouTube right now.
I mean, when we...
Are we live on Instagram? Do we know? So
No, I don't know.
if we're not live on Instagram tonight, by tomorrow night we will be live on Instagram. We did the whole like settings. I don't know how to explain this stuff. Okay.
Here, Troy, just play at least 10 seconds or 20
Let's hear it,
seconds
let's hear it.
of his.
Are you sending it on WhatsApp?
I'm sending it to you, yes, on WhatsApp. Okay. He's my friend, Phil Toes. That's what I called him when we were younger. So it's sent. And the song is called Demons. And did you get it? Right there, the top. Right there, Johnny Rosario. To the left. There.
Oh no, I was looking at something that our friend just showed us.
Yeah.
Can we cast to the screen?
It ain't no secret, better believe it. Posted in the nighttime, chilling with demons. Can't explain this feeling, all the things I'm seeing. Got that pistol on my hip, and then the clips gets appealing. It ain't no secret, better believe it. Posted in the nighttime, chilling with demons. Can't explain this feeling, all the things I'm seeing. Got that pistol on my hip, and then the clips gets appealing. I seen them selling dope up out the window. Swear to God, never change up on my kinfolk. I'm from TK where you get murdered for a pinto. I got that pack, I flip that shit and I get tenfold. Yeah, and I be smoking on that Indo.
We'll get blocked.
Okay. Now, first of all, that is some talent.
Yes.
That is some talent. Secondly, not just the music,
But
not
the
just
words.
not just the lyrics, but also the videography.
Yeah, I like the video.
And they did it themselves.
But is that called cinematography? The look of a video or something? Like the
the art
lighting mixed
direction.
with the.
Well, yeah, all of it, but it's the production, the post-production work.
So the
Then the
name is
editing?
called Demons, and it's his name is Young Sushi, Yung Sushi. So there you go, Phil Toes. Congratulations.
Congratulations!
Good
This
song,
was actually
good song.
published just 15 days ago. Just 15 days ago, it has 476 views. Folks, let's share this. Let's share the wazoo of it.
Yeah.
I tried to be hip and I got that all wrong.
Yeah.
See if we can get some new music coverage over at Power 98.
Oh yeah.
Well, his friends, we actually all grew up together. They were like in a Filipino gang. So I'm pretty sure it's getting there.
Was it
Yeah.
Tagawa?
No, it was
Tawagama?
No, it's the one in Machechi.
ABT?
No, Mugfug Boys.
That was a Filipino gang?
Yeah.
It sounds so megwa. Mugfug boys. Okay, so anyway, we can cast off my screen. Oh yeah, that tab did say Jesse Underwood pleads guilty. So our first story tonight. So we're not hate. We're haters. We're haters.
I'm not.
We're
Are we? Am I?
We are.
I'm compassionate.
well, we are
We
compassionate
are haters to people who snub their noses at us.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Troy's enemy is my enemy.
And it's not so much that KOAM is owned by the Calvos as much as it is that they've been Guam's home news for 70 years. Is that what it is, or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
What was that, Cello? Is it 70 years, or is that PDN?
I don't know.
It's KOAM, right?
Yeah.
So when you get complacent, and when you don't keep up with the times, and most of all, when you do not subscribe to the truth in news reporting, and when you're wrong,
When you vetted the wrong information, or when you're fed from the police or
Wait.
whoever you're fed from.
Do you have a byline on that story?
I do.
What's the byline? I'm just curious.
Let me guess.
the new kids on the block, see, those of us who are hungry for more than just food, and for success in this business, we're gonna call this shit out. So not only was KUAM dead wrong in its coverage of the Keith Castro murder, in the beginning of that murder investigation, not only were they dead wrong about many of their insinuations.
Not only KUAM,
Well, yeah, not only KUAM,
but tonight is KUAM.
tonight's KUAM.
Yeah.
So was it yesterday when I got sick, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yesterday morning around 5:05 a.m., I started a written news story on Kandit regarding the secret raid into a ranch where Leighton Borja was located, and he was taken into custody and then confined overnight. I believe he's still confined, actually. He was magistrated just today. And our news story presented information provided by reliable sources.
Oh, geez, it's Sabrina Martinani.
Oh man,
No.
I like her.
That's
I know, but she,
that's the one who wrote this one.
yeah.
No, the first one, the wrong one,
Oh, the
doesn't
wrong-
have
oh,
a
the wrong-
name.
It's probably Christina Barnett. So
Oh, don't say that. I like him.
Oh, we
you like
don't.
her?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know. But he's not a newbie, you know. Oh, geez, I should shut up.
Her waistline ain't any newbie anything. Anyway.
Anyway, so KUAM posted a story at 11:55 a.m.
So it was
This is
6
the day
hours,
after,
6
yeah.
hours after we posted the story that Leighton Borja was found with oh no, I'm sorry, he wasn't found with anything.
It was found on the ground.
2
Yeah,
grams
2.2
of
grams.
methamphetamine was found on the soil
Yes.
Oh, how
at the
convenient.
ranch
How
where
convenient.
he was apprehended.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, how convenient. Well, we have a whole conspiracy theory thing about
Oh, I
that.
like.
But
So Sabrina gets it right. The raid was based on. I just love the irony of wordplay, because she even puts it online in quotation marks. Intelligence.
Well, let's
Because that doesn't seem to be too intelligent.
let's
to,
talk
hear
about the wrong
let's hear
story
original
to do a
story.
raid.
The 6
First.
hours after we broke the news about the secret raid, KOAM presented a story.
and it says convicted felon Leighton Ray Borja, it's not even his name, is behind bars after being arrested Thursday on charges related to the possession, manufacturing, delivering, and dispensing of illegal controlled substances. Borja has a 2008 federal drug conviction. 11 years ago, he was arrested he was sentenced to 12 and a half years in prison after pleading guilty to possession of the drug ice. As part of his sentence, he was also ordered to serve 3 years
Can we
of
catch to the screen?
supervised release following his prison term. Listen to this. KUAM has been waiting for more information from the Guam Police Department related to Borja's arrest. Now, I'm not sure where they got their information, how they got it.
From dirty cops. They got their information from a dirty cop who was likely involved in the placement of those drugs on the soil and needed this story to come out because their only intention here is, for whatever reason, whatever their motives are, to take down Leighton Borja,
Right.
who is a man who has done his time.
Oh,
Right.
what the hell is this? Wait, so I'm just reading this news story today. This
So
is,
wait, Romeo. So today's story, after the magistrates,
that's what I'm
okay,
reading.
This is what I want. Why I want to talk about this. KUAM story says, police have been keeping a tight lid on a drug bust that went down in Dedido earlier this week. Let's stop there. Can you open that and on choice, so people can read along with us? Just escape. Hold on, just a second.
Can you cast to my screen? I'm already open. Yeah, go
Okay.
to my screen.
Okay. Police have been keeping a tight lid on a drug bust that went down in Dedido earlier this week. Stop right there. KUAM put this out. Put out the first article without vetted information, correct?
Yeah.
But the suspect that was involved was magistrated in Superior Court of Guam this afternoon, and court documents detail what exactly happened when police picked up convicted felon Leighton Borja. Mind you, on the first article, they're also charging him with manufacturing, right? Let me tell you why it's been tight-lipped. Because our famous GPD people, okay,
The dirty cops.
the dirty cops, pull whatever they can from this ranch because they find nothing, okay? They find gloves.
Well, see, that's what made me interrupt you earlier. That I was just reading this one paragraph. It's buried down in the story a bit, but referring to that intelligence. Can I read this?
Yeah.
Information from this intelligence also relayed to the police that Borja would hide drugs inside latex gloves. When law enforcement executed the search warrant, they allegedly found about 2 grams, which,
That
What-
was
what-
our story originally.
that's a small amount, right, for a drug dealer. 2 grams of meth near a chicken coop.
After they go through.
After they ripped the ranch apart,
Yeah.
right? They recovered 2 boxes of latex gloves, a digital scale, 2
It's
cell phones,
illegal?
and an SD card.
None of those things are illegal,
Yeah,
except for the 2 grams of meth
That
found
was
on the
found
ground.
on the
which
ground.
weren't found on his person, but on the ground by
Or
a
his
chicken
car.
coop.
Or his car, or inside the living
How
quarters.
convenient for the cops, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Court documents state that when police were searching for Borja, they found him behind his home in the jungle, slouched down with his back against a tree, attempting to conceal himself with vegetation.
I don't even believe that part of the story.
During today's hearing,
doesn't-
it was mentioned that Borja has not 9 convictions. So this sounds like reach, but it's the
Okay,
raid was based
so-
on intelligence that
okay,
he's
so these police
distributing
officers-
meth out of the house, and all they found was 2 grams
On the ground.
conveniently on the ground.
I just want to, okay. Whoever gave KUAM the news on the first story.
Yeah, where's the evidence of manufacturing?
Okay. No, the reason why
Nothing.
he wasn't magistrated, I believe yesterday, was because they received these charges from Guam Police Department, saw that there was no evidence on these other charges, so they had to let all of that go.
I know for a fact that there was an attorney that was expecting to actually have this magistrate's hearing and was switching his schedule around for a potential client and showed up and was like, what the hell?
Yep.
Because he wasn't even informed. And he, as of today, he still didn't have any clear understanding why a scheduled magistrate's hearing was all of a sudden not scheduled.
Well,
And
let's read
that
what the
makes sense
magistrate's report
because-
said today.
If in fact that they trumped up these charges and the AG's office got to look at it before
And
they
said, "Oh,
they were
no."
heading into court, they're
Right.
like, we don't have enough trouble already. You guys, get the fuck
Right.
out
Can
of
you
here.
cast to my screen, Chelu? I want to show just so people see in black and white what the magistrate's report said today. This was filed today at 1:33 p.m. So mind you, the KUAM story came out at 11 a.m. yesterday. Kandit story, which was precisely what appears in this magistrate's report that came out yesterday at 5 a.m., says. Oh, and we called this too. We said that I'll bet you that the arresting officer won't even be named in the magistrate's
Right.
report
Yeah, you
because
did.
it was probably Chris Champion. Comes now Jeremy S. Kemper, duly appointed Assistant AG, and Aver upon information and believe that the following is true. I have received a synopsis of Guam Police case number 19-24845.
The same thing that was said in Tomas's case.
Yep. And after reading the synopsis, hereby state as follows. On or about August 28, law enforcement executed a search warrant on the residence of Leighton Borja, the defendant. The search warrant was based on intelligence, not
they
so
don't have-
smart intelligence.
Yeah, and they don't have to tell you where
That's
they got
like
it from.
Luis Muña intelligence, or like Therese Areola intelligence, that the defendant had been distributing methamphetamine out of his residence. Part of the information police received was that methamphetamine would be located in the area around where the defendant keeps his fighting chickens. So much for that evidence. The information police had received also indicated that the defendant would conceal methamphetamine inside latex gloves. Upon execution of the warrant, which we cannot like emphasize enough how important it is that a warrant was effectuated, was received from a judge by a police officer, which had information. The application for the warrant said that that we have probable cause to believe that this guy has this, and this. The fact that they came back with nothing but 2 grams on the soil and nothing like what the application for the warrant said would be, should be a warning sign to that judge never to give a warrant to that police officer ever again.
Right.
I thought the Medallion
There's a lot of
Task
case
Force
law
was
on this.
busted up.
Well, this was SWAT, but Chris Champion is still there. Still at SID, or whatever that thing is
CID.
called. Upon execution of the warrant, police recovered approximately 2 grams of methamphetamine near the chicken coops. Blah blah blah. Police also recovered 2 boxes of latex gloves, no ice in any of them, a digital scale, 2 cell phones, and an SD card. When executing the search warrant, police did not initially locate the defendant. However, upon a further search of the jungle area behind the house, the defendant was found slouching down with his back against a tree, attempting to conceal himself with vegetation. So based on the foregoing, here are the charges. Possession of a Schedule II controlled substance with intent to deliver as a first-degree felony, and possession of a Schedule II controlled substance as a third-degree felony.
That sounds
No
the kind of
manufacturing.
charge that they give people that they find
That's what they
when
charged
they pull
me
them
with.
over in a traffic stop. And
These are the things I was charged with. Well, actually, I was never charged, come to think of it.
Yeah, they just locked you up.
Yeah, they just confined me and then
They
released
kidnapped
me.
you.
Probably when the AG figured, oh fuck, these are bogus, trumped up charges, but I don't. I mean, Guam police, you guys are really stretching things. I don't know what your motives are,
I
but
was going to say, do they know this guy? Do they have somebody has it out for him?
I'm sure people have it out for him, and like he just lives. He likes to cockfight.
He helps people. He's a good guy. I know him
This,
personally.
I only know him through this Leighton the Lover Facebook thing.
Oh, the love guru.
The Love Guru, that's it. The love
So
guru.
yes, he has pissed off some men.
Probably one of the cops' wives he was taking care of.
You know. It's just,
Oh, so that's legit, his Love Guru thing?
Oh yeah,
he's
yeah.
a love guru.
He's not
my goodness.
and he ain't no splendid daddy either, honey.
Yeah.
Do you know what's a splendid daddy?
Splenda?
A splendid. You know how you have
Like
a sugar
sugar?
daddy,
Yes.
and then there's a splendid daddy.
It's a fake daddy.
That's a fake daddy. That's a daddy pretending he got some sugar.
Oh, jeez. TMI. But yeah, that's how I kind of knew the name from the Love Guru thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of interesting. They have intelligence that accused him because I remember they said it was it sounded like they were taking down a big time drug dealer,
I
and then
smell
all of a
something
sudden,
here.
it's like, it's just kind of coincidental that they happened to find 2 grams on the ground by a chicken coop when the
Yeah,
warrant
come on.
said they were looking for drugs
He's
in a
this
chicken
major
coop.
drug dealer out of the ranch. Come on.
It's ridiculous.
Well, GPD has been under the gun lately. They're
Yeah.
trying hard to get some busts to make themselves look good, I guess.
Then do it legit. They should do it. They should do their work.
They
in
need
a
to do
legit
their
way.
research because I know somebody that just gets on the computer and they can tell you who's who and what's what. And that is just a normal person. They're just the GPD is
Yeah,
just
just
lazy.
for those viewers out there who wonder what their role in all this is, in the underground community, the underworld, if you will, a lot of times people contact Johnny and Troy for legal advice, general information, especially when things go down when it comes to the law. And I was here when you guys got a text message asking what should he do. And like I said, I only knew the name from the Love Guru thing.
It's more on the side of the civil rights violations
Yeah,
that just keep happening, and I'm sorry,
you called it
but
too.
that can't keep going
But
on.
you said that night, this came in just as we were going off air, but that night you said, watch, they won't even name the cops. That you won't know who the cops is, or
And
the
that's the
so-called
same. If you look at every other
information.
magistrate, the AG puts the cops' names down that are involved in the pullover. In Leighton's case and in Tomas's case, there is no officer that is stated there on the
Yeah,
magistrate.
So it's a sign of crooked coppery.
Right. I think so.
'Cause they can't
I
put
will
that cop
bet
on the
my
stand.
life on it.
So they probably can't put the cop on the stand. That's probably what it is.
Well, I do know there was an attorney I spoke with about this case who thought it was kind of curious, and it'd be interesting to see how this pans out. I feel bad for the guy. He did his time. He's out. He's trying to be a love guru now, and then he gets in the crosshairs of some crooked cops.
It didn't even say they did a control buy on him. What probable cause did they have? There's nothing,
according
because
to-
usually the thing will say they did a
Well,
control
according
buy. So
to the report, they had intelligence, but I just love the way Sabrina Mantanani put that in quotation marks.
intelligence, my
Because
ass.
she's a decent reporter herself, so she kind of looked at it and figured, oh, okay, that's not so intelligence.
I bet it was Christina Barnett who did that first story. The one that's all wrong. That's why Sabrina probably had to write the follow-up story
To
because
cover
to
his
cover
ass.
up Chris's hey, violation, I'd sue KOAM.
Well, I don't think you can be sued for sloppy news reporting.
Reckless disregard for the truth.
Well, if that were the case, PDN would be friggin' sued left and right. I mean, can we talk about that? I mean,
Yeah, let's talk about it.
I actually wrote to one reporter and was asking, you're a real journalist, why are you just mouthing what Adelup says and Tina says, Speaker Tina Munya-Barnes, regarding for those emails that supposedly prove this months of communications between federal authorities and this administration, and they never existed. And it's not hard to find out, as you know, that they never existed. And the day after the chief of staff presented to the Democratic caucus evidence of emails, and it was only 2 weeks worth and showed no chain of communications going beyond August, the next day the new PBN still reported that they had been in communications for months with no evidence of it. So there is, like you said, a rush for some media outlets to want to be the first there. It's more important to be first than it is to be right, and unfortunately it does a disservice. Well, in a way though, thankfully, mainstream media is losing viewership and readership precisely because of that, and coming to new outlets like Kandit News for the real news, the facts.
Well, can we Charlie, can you cast my screen? I want to show people. I want to get
off this drug story so we can get to the other good stuff too.
Wait. This is important for people to know. It's about their rights. This is a different magistrate. This was a couple days ago. A magistrate against a guy named Stephen Michael Salas. He's relatively young. He was born in 1997. I was a junior in high school. It says, Cubs now Roland Wimberly. That's kind of a cool name. A duly appointed assistant AG in Aver upon information and believe blah, blah, blah. I have reviewed Guam Police Report number 19-24632 and 19-24634 submitted by GPD officers J.M. Dodd, A.J. Padagui, and J.I. Andrews, which sets forth the following events occurred in Guam. Notice they put the police officers' names there.
And Layton Zone, they put the police report.
But not
One
the
police
officers'
report.
names. Yeah. So,
Wait,
on this the first two sentences.
If there's 10 cops doing the investigation, that means there's 10 police reports.
Yes.
Everyone has their story,
report.
right?
And there were 10 cars there, so there should have been 20 cops.
Yeah, I got video that I saw. Someone sent me a video of the raid, and I saw all the cars that were there. Mm-hmm. So they should have 10 police reports, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So on this Stephen Michael Salas one, there was 3 of them. Three officers involved. It says, on or about August 27, at about 5 a.m., GPD officers observed a black Nissan pickup. Listen to these words carefully. Observed a black Nissan pickup bearing Guam license plate number YG1320, traveling westbound on Route 1 in Simuning. There's nothing in between these two sentences, okay? Officers read out the license plate and learned that the vehicle had expired registration and insurance, so a traffic stop was conducted. Now, on its own, this case should be thrown out. Why?
There was no probable cause to pull that guy over.
There was no probable cause to have his license read. Nothing. So the lack of any probable, they were just like, oh, let's put this license
Chris
plate number
Champion was
into
probably just watching him where he was coming from, radioed those officers to pull his ass over for no apparent reason.
So
I'm just guessing.
Them having no probable cause to have this license plate read out, the entire case should be thrown out. It ain't gonna stand up in court. Well, at least, I would hope that our judges understand. Well, of course our judges understand the Constitution and civil rights. So I don't know, whatever bad this guy did or whatever, he has civil rights. Everyone has constitutional rights, and police shouldn't be doing that. They just shouldn't be doing that. That's like, anyway.
You know, when you get pulled over, you're supposed to ask the officer, what's your violation? They have 15 minutes. From the moment they pull you over, they have so many minutes to write you the ticket and let you be on your way. You need to ask them, why did you pull me over? And if they don't have a reason, you have every right to leave.
Remember when I was telling everyone that Angie and I got arrested for 2 joints?
Yeah.
Back when I think we were 18 or 19. At that time, police officer, he may have been Sergeant Maurice Sayama. He became a colonel, and for very good reason. He understood the whole 15 minutes thing. everything by the book. A female police officer came to
So is this guy
handcuff Angie. It was the funniest thing in the world.
was this guy here in the truck a friend of yours?
Oh no, I don't know. I have no idea who he is. It was
So
just
I'm
a recent thing.
gonna be the devil's advocate here.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, you
So-
wouldn't be the devil's advocate if it was our friend.
Well, I'd be a lot more careful because
Well, wrong is wrong. Wrong is wrong.
I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay, go for it.
But it was my understanding from a news story that the kid was pulled over because of a out of date license plate. They can tell by the sticker, the color of the sticker, right? So that might.
They're on Marine Drive traveling.
Hey, I
at
said
40.
devil. I said devil's advocate. Okay, and it's the reason why they call it the devil's advocate. So let's say he's seen the sticker and decided to run the plate. Law enforcement has a problem on Guam trying to address the rising crime that we face here,
Sure.
and I don't want to fault them when they make that extra effort. Just because,
They cannot read that out.
Well-
if the guy did
well, that's-
unsafe lane change,
but that's something for this
Court.
guy's attorney to
Right.
determine. But in this pullover, they had somebody who actually had an outstanding warrant from a previous burglary.
oh, correct. But you cannot do something illegal to get something legal.
Well, I do believe the Supreme Court has already determined that what he did was not illegal by doing that. They ran the plate.
No,
You can run you don't need any reason to run a plate. That's their prerogative.
No, you need a reason to run
You
the
need a
plate.
reason to search the vehicle. But
no,
no,
you need a reason to pull the person
You
over.
need a reason to run the plate.
I do believe you guys are mistaken on that. You can, that's their job. Anyone that has a license plate and is on a public street can have their plate run. They don't have to justify why. It is what they do afterwards. And they did a pullover.
No, Dwayne Mateo's case was thrown out because they tried to say there was no light in the back of his license plate, and that's why they ran it. Jay Arriola got that shit thrown out because it's against.
Oh, that was a Benny Mendoza
Maybe
case.
it was because the light actually worked. I don't know, but I do know cops do not.
No, the judge said you had no right to run those plates. They threw it out.
It was based on the running of the plates thing. You know what we should do? We should.
I'd
we
like
should-
to.
we should research the case.
Yeah,
law
I'm
and
going.
bring
I'm
it to
going to
everyone. Yeah.
because I don't think that's illegal for a cop to look at a vehicle and
You
run a
do
plate.
need a reason to stop them. I just got confirmation. That's
from,
the law.
And is that from one of our
Yes.
our friends?
Yes.
Well, we should look at the case law.
An attorney friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
We should look up the case law. Or let's ask our attorney
If
friends to
it's
give
the
us
one
case
that he
law.
was telling me about a few minutes ago,
Yes,
yeah, okay,
yes.
I'll go with his word then.
Okay.
I'll go with his word. But
So-
that's his lawyer to throw. But like I said,
is
I
an
tend to
interesting
be
conversation.
more of a conservative. And if in fact they did
I
that
could
and they
never be on
took
a jury.
somebody who had issues in our community, particularly robbing someone's house to feed a drug habit,
Mm-hmm.
then yes, I've got issues and I'm going to be more lenient myself. I'll be on that
Me-
damn jury. I'll be
Don't
more
get me
lenient on
wrong.
the side of the police department.
The way where I was in March of 2018, I'm glad I got in trouble. Me today as a person, I am very happy it happened to me because I'm out of that slum. I was only going to get deeper and it wasn't going to get better for me.
And maybe
if
this
that didn't
kid
happen.
needs that too.
Yeah.
Because I saw the face and I teased Troy the other night about that face. And I went home later and I looked at the story, did the social media check, and he seems to be like a young father. He's got family support and people were concerned about his health and his well-being. And maybe he needs that as well. I am not condoning police corruption. I am not condoning what too many police officers on GPD seem to find
You're
easy
saying
to
what,
do.
You're saying what the climate of the community is,
But
and
yes.
if there were to be a jury put together on this, some
Well,
people
if-
might actually find.
If I were on the jury,
might
I would be
overlook it.
more lenient to the cops in this case.
But I think
but
the
it
point
would
is
be a
that-
case by case issue.
I think the point is that in the determination of what the law is, the judge would throw it out during pre-trial conference.
No, that would be up to
You know,
that's another issue.
It is an
Most
issue.
judges, maybe, right?
I don't know what
You would
GPD is
think.
waiting for. If they're waiting for a civil rights action lawsuit where there's hundreds of us that file a complaint and we
Civil class action.
Yeah, that one.
class action lawsuit. Well, you
Yeah.
know, it's happened in Philadelphia.
It's happening everywhere. People are
So
standing
why
up.
does? So I'm looking at police stuff, and why does his face pop
Because
up?
PDN's video thing just rules and rules and rules. I just thought it
And
was-
Troy is pissed off because KUAM showed up on his news feed and he never visits them. Never.
How the fuck
They're
is
boosting,
KOAM
maybe.
on my?
Maybe they're
No, it
boosting.
wasn't an ad. It was just a regular story thing. I don't want to see this crap.
He
Anyway.
he messaged me like,
Anyway, so there's that. You know, you guys are right. The cops should stay within the confines of the law. If the Attorney General's office is to have any hope of prosecuting a case successfully.
I think they just
But
need to
at
go
the
through a
same
whole
time,
training again.
I think, you know, like I said, I don't think I'm the only one on this island who would be willing to make some allowances. If it took somebody off the street, if it took someone who was robbing homes, because you know, this kid was on warrant for this burglary in 2017.
right.
And this burglary, when you look at his face here,
He's tired.
not
Okay,
just
he
tired,
was
but
on-
he's
how long
he's
has he
healthier
been-
than
how
he
long
looks
has he been
now,
on
which
warrant?
means he's been
Has he had contact
crack-a-lacking.
with Alan Eckley? You know? How long has that warrant been? When you're on Guam, you shouldn't be on a warrant for.
Yeah. Like I
You
said,
know
there are
what
a
I
lot
mean?
of issues with our criminal justice system.
A lot.
You know, and it makes it hard to defend the good cops. It makes it hard to defend the good work of the AG's office.
Mm-hmm.
It really does, because the abuses are getting more and more to outweigh the good
Well,
that they do.
the AG's office keeps turning a blind eye. They're just as guilty as the GPD
Well, the
officers.
AG's office is just blind these days.
So when we come back, we're going to get to a story of backflips and illegal pay raises at SeaWorld, the former SeaWorld,
Yes,
also known as
The Port Authority.
of Guam.
the Liars Club,
I need to pee.
a new.
Looks like we have another number for Joanne Brown. This might be good. Hi, Miss Brown.
Hold on, let me connect.
I'm sorry?
Hey,
Hi, this is Troy Torres with Kandit News Group. You're live with my viewers. Hello? Holy shit, that's the very first time Joanne Brown has ever shut the fuck up. Hey, I fucking win the title. I made Joanne Brown shut the fuck up. She just fucking hung up that phone call. She was like, I got somewhere to eat, bitch. Oh, fuck, let's call John Bell. I just fucking farted through my mouth. That was so funny. Let's call John Bell now. Oh, shit, they better give me a goddamn Pulitzer.
Oh my god, that whale is so big. Oh my, the whale is so oh my god.
Never mind, let's just call his cell phone.
yes, hello?
Hi, Mr. Tydinko.
Dan?
Dan, this is Troy Torres with Kandit News Group. Why did you approve several illegal personnel actions for Joanne Brown? Oh, it's a very serious thing, sir. What a fucking fag. He just hung up. His lawyer was probably like, hang up that phone right now. Your little ass is going to jail.
So the BPT of 5%, do you think that can already be brought back to?
I have made my
4%?
position about that, and I have said that I don't want it rolled back. I'd like to see what fiscal year 2020 and fiscal year 2021 gives, because as a result of what has happened, we were able to actually also close the gap as a result of President Trump's Jobs Act legislation that took away about $68 million from our general fund. So those are the kinds of things that I am really looking at, Heidi, before, and I, like I have said, I have spoken to many business leaders also, and they are okay with the 5%.
Will that stay at least until 2021, so 2022, there might be a
I would like
consideration.
for it to stay, and I'd like for it to stay forever.
So in April of this year, we first brought you the story of the 12 illegal Joanne Brown pay raises, showing that from December 2012 to September of 2018, she was secretly given numerous pay raises from her starting salary of $101,870 to ending salary of $169,977.
Plus benefits, which brought it to over $180,000.
And benefits for multiple people, like Joanne Brown.
Yeah.
That's like a lot of...
Quid pro quo.
We uncovered research showing that Joanne Brown's pay raises were all illegal, and we showed that on Kandit. And now Kandit has news confirming that at least one investigation is ongoing into former Port General Manager Joanne Brown. Joanne Brown.
The job.
And then this is not, let's just be clear here, this is not the only illegal thing Joanne Brown has done. This is just another in a series of illegal conduct by the former Port General Manager and former Senator in relation to her illegal pay raises. Candid News revealed the crimes, and we later learned that several individuals and public officials quietly filed criminal complaints with the Office of the Attorney General and others, including yours truly. I filed a criminal complaint. I was just doing the Lulian girl, pat myself on the back thing.
Let's not start that now.
The Lulian girl, pat myself
Yeah,
on the
let's
back?
not. Let's let them do it.
You don't like
I don't like it.
the patting on the back?
Fuck no.
She can't
Apparently,
pat-
the deluge of criminal complaints kicked off an investigation into Joanne Brown's illegal pay raises by public auditor B.J. Cruz. Candid has confirmed that the results of his investigation will be completed sometime in October, and his review of Joanne Brown's illegal raises has revealed even more shocking instances of other unclassified Cabo Sonorio appointees that will also be included in his findings. So what we're going to show to you now is the April, what date was it, Cello, do you remember?
April 12th?
April 12 or April 10 or when?
Within the month of April.
It was within the month of April. Candid News brought you this following story.
For a surgeon and off-island hospital expenses? What would these employees gain by engaging in this grand conspiracy? How absurd a plot, even for a cheap detective novel.
That's Governor Mary Torres. Well, why would these conspirators push so hard and so aggressively? Why would they threaten witnesses, tamper with public records, slander people, trying to sway public opinion? Well, money. It's always about money. For people like this, for greedy ass people in the establishment, it's always about the money. It's always about the power, but the power is always about the money. It always comes back to the money, and there's a paper trail. So let's talk about Joanne Brown. And you know what? Joanne needs a lot of money in order to feed her fat ass, okay? Like, it takes a lot of krill to feed a whale. And you know those jet puffed marshmallows? The bag of that, just one bag of that is like, what, $2.99 or something. Imagine a Joanne-sized bag of jet puffed marshmallows. How many Rice Krispies treats you can make. Think about that. The cost to Joanne Brown's daily, like lunch is extraordinary, people. Okay? So for Joanne, it's just like anybody else. It's about the money. It's about her ability to eat. The man needs to eat. In just a few short years, in a 6-year period, between the time that Joanne was appointed in an emergency meeting of the Port Authority on December 10, 2012, to the end of the Calvo administration on January, whatever that was, of this year, Joanne Brown received 7 different pay raises, and she received pay raises during a time when increments were frozen at the Port Authority as well. Do we have the graphics running? Huh? Do we have the graphics running? Stand by, give me 1 second. increases in salary. Sorry, I said 7. 7's the number of years. My coworkers are like, 12, bitch, it's 12. Fuck. Sorry, okay? I made one mistake. Jesus Christ. Miss Verify over here. So, in a 6 to 7 year period, Joe Mann received not just an additional 12 notches on her belt, but 12 pay raises in a 6 to 7 year period. This is definitely more than any employee the Port Authority has received in that period, and it was during a period when increments were frozen as well. She started, the effective date of this personnel action for Joe Mann was December 14, 2012. The effective date was December 12, 2012, but the action was written on December 14, 2012. And we're going to look into that because there's something fishy about that 4-day period. But she was hired as the deputy general manager in this 4-day period at a pay of $101,870 per year. That is just the base pay. That doesn't include the benefits and all that shit. And as a career employee, and I'll get to that in just a second, as a career government of Guam unclassified employee, Joe Mann is being paid a lot in retirement. And then 9 days later, the effective date, December 19, 2012. I mean, it was a Merry Christmas for Joe Mann. As all those employees were getting fired, she became the general manager of the port. And her salary jumped from $101,870 to $114,982 per annum. And then an adjustment was made, signed off by Daniel J. Tidinko, chairwoman, Board of Directors, Port Authority of Guam. This was during that 9-day period. They felt it necessary on the 4th day to increase her deputy general manager's salary from $101,000 to $111,000. And then on the 20th, that's when she got that personnel action. They bumped her up in the personnel system from an R4A to an R4D, from $114,982 to $118,467 on the same day of that personnel action on December 20, 2012. You know what's funny about this, and I didn't even see it until now? This adjustment in her salary was retroactive by 4 months. It was dated by Daniel J. Tidinko, chairwoman, on April 23, 2013, but for pay that would begin December 20, 2012. We'll look into that as well. Another pay adjustment. And then on October 11, 2013, this is interesting. This is another instance of a 4-month lag. The effective date is 4 months retroactive to the date of this personnel action, but it gave her retroactive pay increase from $118,467 to $124,510. And then on January 21, 2014, another personnel action was cut, making a retroactive pay increase by 1 month. The effective date is December 19, 2013, raising her pay from $124,510 to $130,861. Now, I realize that the price of groceries always, fucks with us over at Payless, okay? Because the Cowboys are trying to, but there is just no way that the price of goods went up by this much in a 1 month period. This bitch was getting pay raises way beyond the rate of inflation. Like, it's way beyond her own, like, personal cellular inflation as well. Jesus Christ. Then, holy shit. On May 13, 2015, the port issues, and this one is now signed by Francisco G. Santos, Chairman, Board of Directors. On May 13, 2015, the port issues a personnel action retroactive by 6 months to December 19, 2014, increasing her pay from $130,861 to $137,536. I could have sworn that the legislature during this period made retroactive pay raises illegal. We'll check into that. And then another retroactive increase from signed by Francisco Santos, Chairman, Board of Directors, a personnel action cut on February 4, 2016, retroactive by 2.5 months to December 19, 2015, raising her salary again from $137,536 to $144,552. Jesus Christ. One of the highest paid, definitely one of the highest, like probably the third highest paid official in the government of Guam by this point. The highest being the chief medical examiner, followed by the president of the University of Guam, and this, by this time, she would be the highest paid administrator within the government. And then, on October 25, 2016, another personnel action retroactive to October 1, 2016, raising her salary from $144,560 to $149,344. Her hourly rate, $71.80. And this is funny. Signed by Felix Pangilinan, the acting general manager. It was signed by her underling. It wasn't signed by the chairman of the port board. And then another retroactive increase in pay on January 9, 2017, effective December 19, 2016, from $149,345 to $156,963. Signed by Oscar Calvo. Oh, that fat fucking slobby fuck. He's so fucking dumb. Oscar Calvo is a dumb, fat fuck. I don't know how the fuck that guy... I don't even know how he wipes his ass. He's so dumb. Oscar Calvo, vice chairman of the board of directors, effectuated that personnel action for Joe Mann. They swim in the same tank, but Joe Mann probably runs circles around him because Oscar's just that fucking dumb. And then this one, the nature of this action is now called a salary increment, not a raise. Issued February 6, 2018, retroactive to December 19, 2017, raising her salary from $156,963 to $164,970. You know, if it weren't for the dollar signs in front of these numbers, I would think these were her annual increases in weight. And then again, holy shit, man. And then again, Joanne Brown signs a notice of personnel action for herself on September 24, 2018, effective September 16, 2018. And that's better in terms of retroactive, but still retroactive, probably illegal. Raising her salary from $164,964 to $169,977.60, capping her hourly rate at $81.72. Joe Mann Not only is she fat, but she's also old. She's on the old retirement plan, which means that prior to her retirement, retiring from the government of Guam, I see, on the DB plan, and in her final personal action, it says yes, retirement, DB. She cashed out at a rate of $81.72 times 320 hours, a lump sum payment made for the accrued annual leave to the employee's credit. Cashes that out, signed by Francisco G. Santos, Chairman, Board of Directors. And then her highest three salaries, so the 169,977 plus 164,964 plus 156,963. The sum of those three numbers divided by 3 to produce the average. 80% of whatever that average is what she will receive per annum for the remainder of her life. And since she's on the old plan, her spouse, whoever that poor soul is, would receive the pension death benefit. It's all about the money, folks. They did it for the money. They all played their part so that they could get the money they wanted, have the lifestyle that they wanted, be able to buy all the food that they wanted at Payless. She got 12 pay raises. She started at $101,870. She ended at $169,977. She cashed out a huge lump sum at $320. You know, we all know that attorneys have an obligation to provide advice that's in the best interest of their clients. What they're not supposed to do is to provide advice that allows them to continue providing advice so that they can charge you per hour. That's misconduct. That's unethical in its grossest forms, and probably why there are several ethics complaints against Attorney Mike Phillips right now. He's an officer of the court. So is Attorney John Bell. They're both officers of the court. They're subject to the same ethical rules and standards that all the other attorneys are. He's zealously appealing rulings in the Port 7 case for no good reason, for no reason that he is able to promptly and efficiently explain to the public. He's violating all kinds of rights, all kinds of shit. This is a classic example of the tail wagging the dog. You know how, like, when a dog, and we're just talking about dogs, it's so cool. You know how when a dog walks, right, its tail wags behind it, but the dog is leading the way. So it's the main body, right? But in the political world, it's very possible for the tail to wag the dog, meaning what was supposed to have been following now is leading. The attorney in this case is supposed to be following the port's lead, but despite how in reality the dog is what leads, it's the tail that's leading, the attorney that's leading, and leading for the benefit of the attorney, so that over the past 7 years the attorney could rack up $7 million in legal fees, and everybody is complicit in it because everybody gets their cut of the money. You know, Joe Mann gets to retire at 80% of the average of her highest three. You know, she gets to live that cush life that she wants. But for Mike Phillips and John Bell, I mean, come on. What is it exactly, right? What is it exactly that people in the Port 7 were supposed to benefit from? And Mary Torres very eloquently says this in her testimony during Dan Tidinko's hearing. She says, there was this workman's compensation claim where most of the $70,000 or $77,000 was going to go to pay for the surgery itself and for the doctor's fees and the travel. Bernadette Meno wasn't going to benefit anything. She just needed to get her back fixed. And what did Vivian Leon have to benefit from helping Bernadette Meno to fix forms or whatever? Nothing. She would have benefited nothing. Neither did any of the other 5. It's not like these are Calvos. They didn't have lots of money to promise each other if they would develop this elaborate scheme. And for what? For what purpose? These are just bureaucrats, merit-based employees. It's ridiculous. Bill padding, fraud, all this shit. Wait, hold on. Let's just hear it. Because a long time ago, back in 2012, Mary Torres predicted all of this. So let's go to that video. I want you guys to see that.
And consideration. Counsel insisted that it was important for him to prepare a summary, but that he would also prepare the NPAAs. On December the 4th at 5:42 p.m., I received legal counsel's supposed findings of fact and conclusions of law, which were filled with inaccuracies, distortions, and poorly reasoned legal conclusions. Legal counsel did not even bother to interview me or seek clarification on any matters. The findings of fact and conclusions of law were obviously drafted with the intention of reaching a predetermined result, which was not surprising because the employee who was seeking workers' compensation was perceived to be a political enemy of the governor, allegedly responsible for altering the calvatorial platform known as Blueprint 2020. In fact, the Chief of Staff directly told me that this entire exercise was all about getting this employee fired, and that I, in his words, was collateral damage. One example of how counsel bent or ignored the facts to reach the results he wanted is that counsel accused me of approving employees' leave since July of 2011, ignoring the fact that I did not start working for the port until February 2012. Many of the material events, including the accident which gave rise to the request for worker compensation, occurred in September 2011, 5 months before I joined the port. I did not have personal knowledge about the accident, since I was not at the port at the time. I also did not have personal knowledge as to how the port initially responded to the accident. As in many things which happen at the port, especially things which happened before my arrival, I have to rely on information provided to me by other managerial employees and subordinates.
Which camera? If I liked weed and if I had a joint, I would spark one up for Mary Torres, who should be the governor, because that was 7 years ago. That was when that was her last day as a cabinet member under the very powerful Calvo administration. And that woman stuck by her gun. She stuck to principle. She had a backbone. She had a fucking spine. And she stood up for what was right. And there she was, transparent, providing answers, asking questions, doing it all publicly in the light of day where cockroaches had spread when the light came. And she was there. She refused to fire those employees because she knew it was wrong. And she did the right thing. And for so many years, she was crucified by the Calvos, by Mike Phillips, Joe Man Brown, calling her criminal. And now that all of this is being exposed, all of this is coming to light, it's time that this island looks at Governor Mary Torres and say thank you for standing up for people when it wasn't convenient to stand up for them. Thank you for doing what was right when what was right wasn't popular back then. Thank you for taking a stand and for putting yourself out there. We need more people like that. We really do. So bravo and light it up, everyone. So first of all, I just wanted to make a commentary on how much more professional we've become in the months since that has. So that was the trash talk segment of Candid News at the time. So there was a lot more cussing, a lot more calling Joanne Brown fat, like an orca from SeaWorld.
Gargantuan.
We haven't lost that edge. But
Morbidly
that's the very
obese.
first time I've ever watched that episode was now.
You know what disturbs me about that whole situation?
Her BMF status.
Somebody got injured
Yeah.
who had to get screws placed in her back.
Whose son's personal medical information was publicly released.
Right.
Yep.
Who probably till this day still has pain,
She does.
Yep.
She does.
and they forgot about that.
They didn't forget. They
They
just
never
ignored it. Yeah.
And they
So
said
you know what
they said
I
it was
like?
a lie
What
and
I would
everything.
like to see is a plot, not the criminal kind like they planned, but like let's plot out on a timeline when she got these pay raises, and see how close they were to the attacks that Joanne Brown made against Mary and other individuals. Like when she was out there slandering her, criminally slandering her, calling Mary Torres a criminal, accusing her of literal criminal activities. How long was it afterwards that she got her next pay raise?
So, true story.
Every 6 months, Cello.
At the time that Mary Torres was released as the port's general manager, she was undergoing a voluntary 10% pay cut, like most of the Calvo Sonoro cabinet at the time, plus the Calvo Sonoro senior staff, the governor and lieutenant governor. When Joanne Brown came in, I mean, not only was she at the doorstep of 12 pay increases within a 7-year period, but she refused to take that pay cut that everybody else was sacrificing, and the money from those pay cuts was being deposited into the income tax refund account for the payment of tax refunds.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I took it. I was making $65,000 annual. It's a pretty penny, but I'll proudly say that I earned that salary. I took a 10%.
And he
pay
made
cut.
up to 90. 95 plus benefits. I'm just saying.
So, anyway,
You would never see that from this administration. Never.
50. So it was a 10% cut. So I went down to 58,500. Mary Torres went from like 90-some thousand down to 80-some thousand. Joanne Brown, by the time she left the Port Authority, was making double that. 167,944
Plus benefits coming to over 180,000.
for multiple people in one person.
It's a big ass tank she needs.
So,
Tank
we're-
maintenance is very expensive.
needless to say, we're really happy about news that the public auditor is investigating this. Because back in April, we sent that report to the Attorney General. I'm only sad that we didn't send it to the public auditor. We just didn't think of it. Because the public auditor can file a criminal complaint himself based on his findings, and we hope that it does go somewhere. But before we discuss whether this thing is going to go anywhere, at the time we did reach out to Joanne Brown and Dan Tydinko about this. This was on April 11, 2019, and we want to bring you that story right now. From my screen. I'm sorry. Don't go to my screen yet. Sorry, I forgot. That was a big mullard, everyone. Sorry. Go ahead and cast to my screen.
I got it right here, Chuck. I'll play from here.
No, but is it going to include the words? You have the correct one?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
You do? Okay. Go ahead and play from there then. we have another number for Joanne Brown. This might be good. Hi, Miss Brown.
Hold on, let me connect.
I'm sorry?
Hi.
Hi, this is Troy Torres with Kandit News Group. You're live with my viewers. Hello? Holy shit, that's the very first time Joanne Brown has ever shut the fuck up. Hey, I fucking win the title. I made Joanne Brown shut the fuck up. She just fucking hung up that phone call. She was like, I got somewhere to eat, bitch. Oh, fuck, let's call John Bell. I just fucking farted through my mouth. That was so funny. Let's call John Bell now. Oh, shit, they better give me a goddamn Pulitzer.
Oh my god. That whale is so big. The whale is so Oh my god.
Never mind, let's just call his cell phone.
Yes, hello?
Hi, Mr. Tydenko.
Dan?
Dan, this is Troy Torres with Kandit News Group. Why did you approve several illegal personnel actions for Joanne Brown? Oh, it's a very serious thing, sir. What a fucking fag. He just hung up. His lawyer was probably like, hang up that phone right now. Your little ass is going to jail. So I get carried away sometimes. Like I make up things like I farted through my mouth. When we made that video today, it was the first time I actually like ever like resaw that whole thing. It's pretty funny. So let's have a discussion here about where this thing is gonna go, because maybe you guys can take bets, and I'm not a betting person, but maybe the two of you can take bets on whether this is really gonna go anywhere.
What makes you think I'm a betting person?
Well, I played safe most of the time.
Yeah, I don't gamble. I just propose resort gaming.
So
No, I'm not going to bet on this. We did our job. We did the investigation. It went to the correct people where it went. Now let's see what happens.
let's see what the public auditor does. I've got great faith in the public auditor.
Well, the
what I'm
public-
concerned about is it going to the attorney general's
I was
office.
about to say, while we were watching that, Johnny said, well, what happens now? That's, where it's going to go from here. And the bottom line is, even the public auditor's report, it's nothing if the Attorney General's office decides to ignore it. And so far, the Attorney General's office has ignored everything to do with the port, the previous administration, and the well-known corruption that has been exposed repeatedly, as well as the criminal complaints that you, Troy, have filed with them. They've simply ignored it. So nothing's going to happen unless they make it happen.
Or there's public pressure.
And that's what it will take. I'm just not going to. I don't feel very comfortable in the public putting that much pressure on the Attorney General's office. Unfortunately, I just don't. I don't see it happening. I wish it would, but when you look at the number of people who are out here struggling to make ends meet, just to pay the bill, like the one viewer who was online the other night trying to get us to answer a question for her as to Why is her fuel recovery charge higher than her actual bill that she gets from GPA? People are struggling. Everything's going up. Food costs, gas prices,
7 to 8 people lost their jobs, their livelihood, while Joanne Brown was giving
9 people.
Or 9 people.
Mary comes from a well-to-do family, so she could take the hit economically, but her whole family took a major hit when they accused her of being a criminal. They slandered her name.
How Joanne Brown was okay sleeping at night, giving herself those raises.
She's okay sleeping as long as she's banking that money and stuffing her face with krill. She's
That
fine.
is the biggest evil.
How do whales sleep? Upside down?
No, they just float in the water. They bob. They bob. They actually have to move, I think, to keep the air going through. No, that's sharks. Maybe she's a whale shark. I don't know. But yeah,
yes,
it's really fucked up. A lot of people went through. I know Bernadette Meadows personally, and I know she was just. It was a difficult time for her and her family. And then there's Vivian Leon, one of the most humble, low-key women that you're going to ever meet. She loved her job. She was committed to the port.
Loved her.
Yes, they did. The feds loved her. Everybody loved her. That was the it
She
girl.
was an asset.
That was they called her the go-to girl. You want something done at the port, you would go to Vivian
Well, she
Leon.
was the de facto general manager of the port.
Yeah,
really.
and what they did,
She was good
they
with
smeared
people,
their names.
the employees.
Look at all the good people who had their names, their reputations, their character, their honor just utterly dragged through the dirt. And many people don't know them, so they just assume what they read or what they heard from their...
what the media put out there.
and what
about
Calvo
them.
put out there, what Joanne Brown and Dan Tedinko put out there, they just believe, well, what are they going to think, But nothing's going to get done. Nothing's going to change unless someone in a position of authority makes that move. And that person is Attorney General Levin Camacho. And unless the National Association of Attorneys General come to Guam and decide to make this an effort, it's not like he's going to do it. I don't think he'll do anything. He'll follow them if they do it. If they make some kind of class action lawsuit against somebody, he'll jump on that. But we don't see the Attorney General's office really digging down into any of the hard work. And, I'm going to say to give him some benefit of the doubt, and I just can't do that right now. It's the wrong man for the right job. We need an attorney general who has an idea of what true justice is and has the experience and the gravitas of character and background to be able to make that happen. We will never correct the failing faith in government as long as people like Joanne Brown, Dan Tedinkos, and the Mike Benitos of this world, and their accomplices like Christina Boleto, who are vouchsafed and cushioned in cushy little jobs by the administration that they did these plots for. Unless all of them are held responsible and accountable, people are going to still go out there and think nothing's going to change, nothing can happen that will improve my life. And the people who can make those differences aren't doing anything. And it has to start in the AG's office, because that's where the justice begins here for us, for all of us. And I just don't see it.
Well, let's move on to...
But I want to segue from this port story into another one that ties directly back to
Thompson.
Yeah.
Chelu, can you go to my screen?
Yes, sir.
One of the things about the Port 9 case that was clearly established is they all lied and lied and lied and lied. You can go split screen now.
I love this graphic, by the way, and the video that goes with it.
Thank you. But they have this club of their own where they just get away with these lies. They manufacture these lies. Well, another one that is involved today also makes headlines. It's been a busy week, folks, here on Guam Blog and Kandit News and on our island. And just look, we wrapped the week up with our mouths wide open, just to gape at the stunning actions that people have been allowed to get away with and continue to get away with. There's a news story today about the Civil Service Commission lowering the bar for evidence for the port in direct relationship to the YT case and Joanne Brown and those guys. They don't have to prove so much anymore in order to get away with their shit. And the guy who made that decision is none other than little Toddy Girl Thompson.
What's his connection to Joe Brown?
I'm glad you asked that. Todd Thompson, attorney Todd Thompson, who put this order down today. If you could pull it up on your computer, I think it's in the Post or go on
I don't have
PDN.
mine.
They lowered the bar for evidentiary proof, which favors the port. Todd Thompson is the guy who was basically the author, the principal author of the YTK contract from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
His brother, Mitch Thompson, was handpicked by former Greasy Port attorney Mike Phillips to be one of the arbitrators that overturned Judge Sokola's ruling, forcing them to go into arbitration that ultimately gave Champ Calvo the win in the YT case. Now, and like I said, his brother was handpicked, Mitch Thompson, by Mike Phillips while he was at the port to be the arbitrator. That means his brother, Mitch Thompson, would be reviewing his own brother's work product. His own brother's work product, the YTK contract.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen how that went. You know, they said the judge was wrong, go back to arbitration, and they put the win in for Champ Calvo. Now Toddy Thompson lowers the bar before Vivian Leon and Bernadette Meno have their hearings in what they have to prove in their charges and accusations to support their argument that would continue this criminal plot.
Maybe KOAM.
So we bring Toddy Thompson.
So I'm looking for that story that you're talking about.
Toddy Girl Thompson.
Toddy Girl
You know, and I
Thompson.
really hate picking on the sisters, you know, the family. But him and his brother, both of them are shysters. They're shyster sisters, the Thompson twin sisters. To sit down and play this game, play this charade, that they're objective and they're good and honest attorneys when they're full of shit and just as corrupt as Mike Phillips, Joanne Brown, Dan Tedinko, and the role they're playing. Today's ruling is really, really interesting. Vivian Leon had her hearing postponed until I think it's September, and Bernadette Meno's hearing is still yet to come up, right? And before they get there, this guy set the bar low for the port to prove their case. So
and he's the person who was appointed during
he's the guy.
administration.
He's the guy, Todd Thompson, who wrote the damn YTK contract in the first place, and his brother.
And the Calvo administration was trying to rush everything through before their administration ended so that they could use this guy, Todd Thompson, to rule against Vivian Leon
Yes.
and Bernadette Meno, who were the last cases to be heard.
Let me see if I can find this story here for you today. It just caught my eyes. I was looking at some other things, but I just thought it was really, really just some more shiesty work.
I went to one of those hearings where he was the administrative law judge or whatever it's called, and he didn't seem like the sharpest tool in the shed. And I wanted to be like, hey, Gela, can you not represent yourself in our community because it's not looking too good for us.
So here's
that
the
kind
story.
of dumbness.
Shall we go to my screen again?
Did you found it?
It's on the Daily Post.
Oh.
It's on the Daily Post. The stories by your favorite reporter, Kevin.
Yeah, well,
Kerrigan.
if Kevin had actually reported this when it came out, this ruling came out on August 2nd. But Kevin just missed it by a few 28 days.
Yeah, it's really. I just seen the headline and ran. I didn't even go through this whole thing, this part here. Oh yeah, I see.
That's not Kevin.
Yeah,
That's
I read the top. I didn't get down into the story. The decision was issued August 2nd, prior to a hearing held Wednesday for three former port employees: Josette Jabalosa, Vivian Castro Leon, and Bernadette Stern Meadows.
Mm-hmm.
So he basically set it up. Let me read this for you guys. The Civil Service Administrative Law Judge Todd Thompson, author of the YTK contract at the crux of this plot at the port, has issued an order establishing the evidentiary standard that the Port of Guam decision to fire port employees accused of involvement in this so-called frame would have to prove, right? In his decision, Thompson said that the clear and convincing evidence standard applies in cases of alleged violations of personnel rules, but for cases of alleged felonies or misdemeanors, the lesser substantial evidence standard applies.
Okay, wait a minute. Who was charged with the felony or misdemeanor?
No
None.
one.
None of them. So that rule does not apply to them.
Nope. But the lower ruling does, which means they don't have to work so hard to get their plot to stick. The plot that was driven to suck 15 to 20 million dollars out of the Port of Guam for absolutely nothing, that was based on a contract written by Todd Thompson. He's making a ruling on a case that is directly hinging on his work product that was reviewed and skewed back toward Champ Calvo by his brother, who was handpicked by Mike Phillips, who's earned over $5 million prosecuting these people illegally with fraudulent charges.
He even
And
threatened,
he gets away with this shit.
He even threatened that that the AG, the FBI, and the U.S. Attorney's Office are going to be indicting these people, these 7 people, including Mary Torres, so 8. And that never came to fruition. And the statutes of limitations on all of those charges have run their clock.
So Bernadette Meno her lawyer asked for a 30-day continuance, as did the attorney for Vivian Leon. Well, the reason why they asked is there seems to be individuals there who aren't necessarily familiar with the background and the law in this, so they need more time to get up to speed. And Toddy Thompson is trying to push it. He wants it wrapped up. He wants it wrapped up while he's got things set up in favor of Mike Phillips and the illegal work that they did, the illegal plot that they executed on these innocent people. So, Toddy girl, you need to take your ass back down to Manila for your little fetish trips and leave the law alone and these people. We're going to call you out. You're part of the Liars Club.
Also, let's not forget that Kevin Kerrigan's source of information is Mike Phillips. You know, you read all of his stories.
Yeah, it
and
does
it's very
make you
clear
wonder
that
why
Mike
this
Phillips-
story was held for 27 days.
Yeah, exactly. It's a whole Mike Phillips thing. Kevin doesn't actually go there and come on. So what he misconstrued what Mike Phillips was saying in this story, and really Mike Phillips needs to be careful because these are ethical violations that he's making. He could be skewered before the Guam Ethics Board if they
ever do anything.
Yeah,
And that's Tolentino who's in charge of that now, right?
I thought it was Jackie Terlaki. Yeah, I know. What Todd Thompson is saying is that even though these people have never been charged with a crime, he's going to hold the same standard of proof to them as though they were charged, which is just a ludicrous thing. But nonetheless, it looks like the Port Authority of Guam, through its new council, Joe McDonald, its new general manager, Rory Respicio, and its new board of directors are...
And they're not taking orders from Mike Phillips, so Kevin Kerrigan needs to stop. Right?
Well, it looks like they're proceeding along a path of justice, and that's what's important. And so to wrap this whole segment up, we would hope that the Attorney General of Guam or the special prosecutor appointed by the governor.
We can't wrap the Liars Club up. We haven't talked about the party.
Oh, I'm so sorry. We're not wrapping the Liars Club up. I'm so sorry.
We got one more Liars Club. This is the Liars Club episode.
This is the segment on Liars Club.
Yes.
And then our last segment
back
is
to
on
the split
the
screen,
Lebowskis and the Tidequees.
So, we are not going to talk about the party and the expense report or shift.
Oh, yeah, you found stuff. Yeah, this is the first time that Johnny and I are going to hear this. Let's hear this.
Oh, well, Johnny I know knows. When I brought it up, she was
yeah.
how about this shit?
Say, ask Robert Hoffman.
So this is the first time I'm going to hear it.
So, on that little video trailer, a teaser for tonight's Liar Club episode, we call the Liars Club episode Out of Loop L75 edition. It was a week ago today that media reported on a private exclusive affair at the government house to celebrate a successful loss of $126,000 plus during the Liberation Day carnival.
Yay!
Including fireworks and access to a top security facility over at Civil Defense, the Fusion Center, that was used as a backdrop for boozing and selfies. Thank you, Kathy Flores. We really appreciate your photographs. I sent them on to a few individuals in Pacific Command who would be who actually were quite interested in that. Well, anyway, when questions arose as to how the party was even paid for, Mayor Council President, the $95,000 man, Angel Sablan, said, "I don't know.
Ask
I'm just
Robert
the
Hoffman.
boss. Ask Robert Hoffman. He handled the finances."
No, actually, I think he said ask Therese Harris.
No, he said
Robert
no.
Hoffman.
He said Robert Hoffman handled that, not me.
Yeah.
That's what he said. Mind you, he gave himself a raise that pays him more than the governor of this island, and yet he doesn't know what the people under him are doing.
Man, I really like
Supposedly.
Robert Hoffman.
Yeah, Robert's all right guy, but when you're as shady as he is, you better be a good mayor. You gotta, the people don't care if you're corrupt, if you're shady, you're dabbling in illegal gambling and other little side works on the side, as long as you're keeping the grass cut and the bus stops clean. People like their mayor, but that doesn't change the fact that he's a shady guy.
Okay, let's hear it.
And a member of the Liars Club, because as soon as he was confronted by media, he said, "Not me, Adeloop."
Oh, that's what happened. Okay.
And in between that, Therese Areola popped her head up. She's the vice chairman of the Liberation Day Committee, and said, "Oh, well, we don't know because it was coordinated by Adeloop, but
And then it was potluck.
We lost. Yeah, it was potluck, and we lost $126,000. But yay!" So one lie after another, after another, after another.
And don't forget that video that Kathy Flores put up with her fireworks. She says, "We can't do this often because we only get a small what?" What did the video say?
She said they're short or sporadic.
It's sporadic funding or something. Something
but,
about the funding.
The fireworks for that night
Prim,
were
play that.
Were supposedly.
Let's listen. Let's listen to what she says with her own words in the fireworks display that night that they patted themselves on the back.
For losing $126,000.
Make it loud.
There's a good view.
We gotta bring that youngin'.
Good night. Be safe. Biba L75. Biba Guam. We have a short budget, so it's not sporadic.
Oh, shit. Ah, dang it.
We have a short budget. That's why it's sporadic.
Oh, okay. But yeah.
So there you go. Now they're saying
a week later, get this, 1 week after they already came up with, let's see, Angel 1, Robert 2, Therese 3, and then Lou now with 4 different versions of their story. Now,
They're saying
the party was paid for
by Lou and Josh out of their own pockets.
because they're that generous.
They are celebrating a loss of 120. I think it's
And they're
more.
not even finished. No, they did not lose money. That's bullshit. They didn't even count the almost $500,000 licensing fee that the gambling interest, the corrupt gambling interest, paid. They tell you over and over that's not included in that figure.
Okay.
Neither are the dollars that went out the back door.
I think it's taking so long because they're fixing the numbers, right?
Well, you seen Therese Ariola's so-called profit and loss statement, a one-pager that tells you absolutely nothing. They are so corrupt and so inept in their lies that the amount for the checks issued for Charissa Tenorio, Chief of Staff for Peter Terlahi, her security investment, don't even match with the amount that Therese Ariola put on the
They're
profit and
missing
loss
10,000,
statement.
right?
They're more than 10,000 differential. So across the board, lies. You do it better. Across the board,
Lie,
what?
lie.
And that'll be another episode of The Liars Club. Out of loop, L75
No, as
edition.
Troy says, man, Pussat, she's greedy. They're greedy.
Non-stop. And we want to welcome Toddy Girl Thompson to the club. Joe Amanda Jabba Brown, you've always been an honorary member. We appreciate and want to thank you for your special splash appearance.
There, I told you.
That's that she's greedy.
Low Mampus Pat, she's greedy.
Cello, I should have sent you the audio so you could play our To Tell the Truth theme in the background.
And she's a Christian.
Who's a Christian?
The liars, they're all Christians, and the Neo and the.
So the latest truth. Can you play the audio without the video? You can do that.
Which one?
The audio to Tell the Truth, the Liars Club. Their theme song is really cool. And they don't say lie. You have a problem telling the truth. But yes, so we just wanted to leave you with the weekend update on this story, the latest live from the club, and see how it changes next week.
And our next segment is David Lebowski and Tyler
Oh, you know what, Taylor? You can actually close out with this video until we get back. Can you do that?
I've been such a fool. I'm blowing my cool with you right now. To tell the truth. You say you went home early last night.
So this next segment is an update on what's going on with the Lubofsky case. So it was, let me go to the, go ahead and, wait 1 second. Go ahead and cast to my screen. I don't know if you can see this too well, but received on December 26, 2018 by the Department of Public Health. It's the Guam Board of Medical Examiners. They're the ones who received this. It was a complaint against Dr. Shinshin Miyagi with the Seventh-day Adventist Clinic, who is a licensed doctor on Guam. And this was filled out by David Lubofsky, the father of Asher Dean Lubofsky, who died last year. He says, my son, age 5, died October 31, 20. I cannot even imagine what it must have been for him to write this out. But my son, age 5, died October 31, 2018, 2 days after an annual full physical by Dr. S. Miyagi at SDA. The problem is that Dr. Miyagi never did a physical. He discussed height and weight. He quickly looked in my son's pants without checking. He never once picked up the stethoscope or checked breathing or stomach, etc. I clearly also reported to the doctor that my son was hoarse, on and off fever, and threw up when eating. I told him I gave him fever meds when he said no fever now. In frustration, I said, can you at least check him? And he looked in his throat and ears. Imagine that a full annual physical of a 5-year-old that is also coincidentally, and then it goes to the next page, 1 second. The same day as I had to ask the doctor to check him, it's an annual physical. He sent us home and Asher was sick. The physical was October 29, 2018. To make matters worse, after Asher passed away, I requested and received the SDA records. I was astonished to see that the record indicated that he did the full exam. The record he signed is false. See attached, he never did the things he claimed. He was only with us for 15 minutes or so. Dr. Miyagi signed a false record. This is very important to some of the information we're going to bring to you. I had a meeting with SDA a week after Asher passed to convey my concerns. They told me they would investigate, but it appears that instead the doctor was allowed to either fix the file or he lied from the beginning. It's our contention that if he had done the full physical or even picked up his stethoscope, our son Asher may have had a fighting chance. He died from a viral infection, generalized. The physician assistant who saw us the next day, October 30, reported that Asher was using secondary muscles to breathe, hoarseness, fever, etc. If Dr. Miyagi did his job on October 29, 24 hours earlier, would he not hear that Asher had labored breathing during the physical or the hoarseness? This is further evidence that no physical was done and the medical records are false of the actions he took on October 29. I have been a patient for 30 years at SDA with 5 kids who have been seen there. I know what goes into a physical. Thank you, David Lubofsky.
I just state, I used to be a certified biller and coder. When a doctor does their example,
I met you at a PMC, right?
Yes,
PMC?
yes.
Yeah.
When a doctor does a physical exam or any kind of exam or intake, when that medical record is done, when they're done with the medical record and it gets placed in the bin, if that doctor takes that medical record and is going to make an addendum or a change, they have to initial and they have to put the date and the time. If they are adding anything in, and they do have to put, because it is a medical record, is a law, it's used. You can take that record and bring it to court. I forget the term. There's a term for that.
Okay.
It's the law. That record is law.
Yeah, we're actually going to see it in the physician's practice
I'm
act.
just saying.
Yeah.
Because if the doctor takes back the record and is going to add anything in that record, he has to state that.
Huh.
That is the law.
And yeah, well, thank you for adding that in, because that's very important in a case like this. Because, and well, let's just hear more about this. So 5 months later, it takes 5 months for the Guam Board of Medical Examiners to respond to Mr. Lubofsky. And they apparently have an investigation, etc., right?
From what I understand, it's an investigation on how to just like crush this guy.
Well, check this out. So, dear Mr. Lebowski, this is in reference of your complaint dated December 26, 2018 and received December 26, 2018 by the Guam Board of Medical Examiners. After further review and investigation, the board at this time has no findings of violation of the Physicians Practice Act, Public Law 24-208, concerning this complaint, and therefore recommendation to close further discussion. If you have any questions, you may contact the Guam Board of Medical Examiners at 735-7408 or 11, which is BS because no one ever answers that phone. Respectfully, Nathaniel Berg, the chairperson. Now, Nathaniel Berg is a medical doctor. He is the owner of Guam Radiology. They have several contracts throughout the government, the private sector. They have contracts with SDA Clinic. Just to ring some bells in everyone's head right now. He has contracts with SDA Clinic. Now, God bless you.
Thank you.
God bless you. Oh man, I really hope you don't have what I had. So this is what Mr. Lebowski wrote back. It was disheartening for us to hear that the Guam Medical Licensing Board made a decision on our complaint public regarding Dr. Miyagi before letting us know first or clarifying the complaint issues. Very unprofessional, but at the same time, it's expected as the lawsuit hit the news and they need to help circle the wagons and help with the narrative. We are not surprised that the board would find no findings of violations of the Physicians Practice Act, as the board would then have to justify why they licensed Dr. Miyagi to begin with. Pay attention to that point because it's very important as we go over the Physicians Practice Act. The board, under the leadership of Dr. Berg, has unequivocally stated that they will license doctors who only meet minimal requirements. They have also licensed doctors who have a history of malpractice. Guam is known by doctors off island as the place to go to with low malpractice insurance and easy to get license for those doctors that can't work in other places. The doctors of Guam have also made it near impossible to sue them if you are poor. They have lowered their malpractice rates to benefit themselves and made it so that you do not have a fair board to complain to, as the medical licensing board members have many serious conflicts of interest to make a decision on these cases. Well, cast off my screen, Shelly, sorry. I just didn't want people to see. Anyway. So. Oh, 1 second. So, Mr. Lebowski asked for an appeal of the decision because what happened was when the Guam Board of Medical Examiners was reviewing the complaint by Mr. Lebowski, they never once asked Mr. Lebowski to testify. They never once called them to clarify any issues. They looked at records and based their decisions on records that Mr. Lebowski had alleged were falsified records. Yes, so defeated the entire purpose of the complaint to rely solely on records that were alleged to have been falsified. They didn't even look at that. So he appeals the decision, and then the Guam Board of Medical Examiners refers the matter to the Attorney General's office and receives a response from the AG on August 22nd this year. It's just a few days ago. Let's go to the screen. The Guam Board of Medical Examiners has asked me to reply to your May 20, 2019 email to the board sent through Ms. Myrna Leon Guerrero of the Health Professionals Licensing Office. First, the board and my office wish to again extend our deepest sympathies and condolences to you and your family. You have requested a point-by-point reason and justification for the board's decision not to pursue disciplinary action against Dr. Shinshin Miyagi's license with respect to the care and treatment of your son. The board regrets that its answer is unlikely to satisfy you. The board considered all available documentary evidence, including your complaint and the medical records. The board also communicated with all medical personnel who had immediate knowledge of the relevant facts underlining your complaint against Dr. Miyagi. Well, let's stop right here. So all of the documents, meaning the medical documents that Mr. Lebowski alleges were falsified by Dr. Miyagi. And then all of the witnesses on the medical staff, well, that would be Dr. Miyagi's subordinates, his colleagues, the people who continue to employ him front desk. Yep.
Medical records.
So, I mean, beyond sharing the evidence the board considered and the witnesses with whom it communicated, it is inappropriate to inquire into the thought processes of the individual board members who voted on whether there was a violation of Physicians Practice Act that should be prosecuted. Furthermore, the board is disinclined to divulge any more of its thought processes than is necessary, lest the parties in your lawsuit against the medical personnel and institutions that treated your son attempt to use the board's decision not to prosecute to influence decision makers. Very tricky ground we're treading right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have inquired how board members mitigated their own conflicts of interest to come up with these decisions fairly. I am familiar with some of your writings on this subject that you have posted to the internet. I do not know if any of the board members are. Although you are entitled to this, that's okay. All right. Let's just stop right there.
Who the fuck wrote this?
Robert Weinberg.
That's exactly what I was about to ask you. Who wrote this?
It's Robert Weinberg. Robert Weinberg is the assistant AG who wrote this on behalf of Attorney General Levin Camacho. Now, the Assistant Attorney General isn't legally wrong. And this is a situation where our senators have done something in the past that favors a class of people over the rest of the people of Guam. So I sent you guys earlier tonight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to share this with everybody.
Shall I go on my screen?
I know I sent it to myself. Hold on. Oh no, that's the wrong email. Right? Yeah, it's the public law.
It's on screen.
Thank you. I'm gonna open it here so I can review it at the same time. So this is Public Law 24-208. It's the Physicians Practice Act that's being noted in this whole thing. It was passed on May 13, 1998. Governor Carl Gutierrez sent a note to the legislature saying that the Physicians Practice Act, authored by the late Senator Eduardo Cruz, was passed into law. Signed by the governor, right? These are the authors: E.J. Cruz, J.C. Salas, L.F. Casper Barr, and all others. This was back when the legislature was a 21-member body. It's called the Physicians Practice Act. In its statement of policy, this is the why this is being created. It says the primary responsibility and obligation of the Guam Board of Medical Examiners is to protect the people of Guam. Well, I think it may have lost its primary focus. For purposes of this law, a person or the definition of the practice of medicine includes undertaking to prevent or to diagnose, correct, and or treat in any manner by any means, blah, 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 all those illnesses and stuff. Rendering determination of medical necessity or appropriateness of proposed treatment. These sort of definitions apply in this case. And then, now here is the heart of the issue with this so-called conflict of interest. See, it can only be a conflict of interest by law if it's spelled out that there's a conflict. But if the law itself creates the conflict of interest, then what can the Attorney General do? This is a matter for the Guam legislature to fix. And this has been a problem for a very long time, not just in the case of the Lubovskis and the Taidaguis, but in many, many cases where doctors have conflicts of interest when they're the ones who determine what they or their competitors must abide by in terms of rules and regulations over their own industry. In this case, thanks to public law 24-208, which was created by a licensed medical doctor who also happens to be a senator. I think it's pretty ironic that we're doing this story while I'm sick. The Guam Board of Medical Examiners, which makes all of the rules and regulations pertaining to the conduct of doctors and to their licensure according to Guam law or consistent with Guam law, the board is composed of 7 members. 6 of them have to be doctors licensed in Guam. So it's sort of like internal affairs at GPD, where it's like you trust that they're going to do the job because a good job and whatever. But
because they understand their job.
Yeah, but really, it's police officers policing police officers. So there's always this. The same thing with the Guam Board of Medical Examiners. Same thing with like the Guam Board of Barbering and Cosmetology, or the Guam Board of Nurses. They're all made of the very professionals who are part of that industry. And so they govern their own conduct. And you would think that as professionals, they would do so with integrity and honesty, but many times they don't.
This board in particular, we all
Because
know
it's money.
George Macris,
Yes.
right? Dr.
Dr.
George
George Macris, yes.
chased off the island because he tried to address
These issues.
this very issue, how Guam facilitates through the law malpractitioners to come here.
Yeah.
And they chased him off island when he tried to bring that up to
I wonder
the
how
public's
Okomo
attention.
got licensed here.
Who?
Dr.
Oh, he's
Okomo.
telling me about
Yeah.
him. What was that guy?
Sexual assault in the States.
Well, he
got
got a license
sued?
here because they don't have to disclose that here.
Yes, they do. It's in this
Yes,
law.
they do.
It's in this law. I'll
to
show
the
you.
public. To the examiners they do, but not to the public.
Well, let's review what the law says. But before leaving this one section, it says, one of the physician board members shall be the medical director of the Guam Memorial Hospital Authority. How can the Attorney General say that there is no inherent conflict of interest if Mr. Lubofsky is suing Guam Memorial Hospital Authority? I mean, there is an inherent conflict of interest. There is also an inherent conflict of interest because Dr. Berg does the business with SDA Clinic. Of course, he's not going to rule against SDA. So
That's just why they don't want to disclose how they came to their decision.
let's show everyone how. Go back to the screen, Chalut. How powerful this board is. This is a very powerful governing board. It has the power to promulgate rules and regulations, and it doesn't say within the administrative adjudication law. They just have this power. They can promulgate rules and regulations at the ready. Select and administer licensing examinations. They get to select what kind. You know what I mean? Evaluate medical education and training of applicants. Evaluate previous professional performance of applicants. Issue or deny initial or endorsement licenses. Approve or deny applications for license re-registration and renewal. Receive, review, and investigate complaints. Receive, review, and investigate reports received from law enforcement agencies, healthcare organizations, governmental agencies, insurers, and other entities having information pertinent to the professional performance of licensees. This is a duty that they have. Discipline licensees found in violation of the Medical Malpractice Act. Institute actions in its own name and enjoin violators of the Medical Malpractice Act, or the Medical Practice Act, sorry. So reinstate revoked license at its discretion, but to use such discretionary authority in a consistent manner and with great assurances that the reinstatement of a license will not jeopardize the public. Over and over, this law seems, as in its intent, to place the safety and the health of the public as its top priority. But in the nuances of this law, really all it does is it makes physicians all that more powerful, and it removes a legal conflict of interest from occurring at this Guam Medical Board of Examiners level. And that's why Robert Weinberg, or whatever his name is, said that there's no conflict of interest, which is BS. Then they have indemnity, they have immunity. What else
Under
we got here?
indemnity, I find this section F2. A member of the board shall be subject to removal when he or she is 2. Found guilty of a felony or unlawful act involving moral turpitude by a court or competent jurisdiction. And all of the rules and regulations detailed here, and this particular thing jumps up. When have you known the Guam Board of Medical Examiners to actually have done any of this? And there's nothing in here that really requires them to make the public aware of anything they find out about bad doctors.
Except after an investigation. They're supposed to.
That's why they don't do an investigation.
Well, and they also, on page 10 of this, if you go to page 10, go back to the screen, Sheldon. And they're supposed to have an adequate staff of investigators. I highly doubt they have that. And then, hold on. So I kind of skip over lots of the other stuff, right? They are supposed to, for the examination application that doctors are supposed to go through, number 5 says, a list of all jurisdictions, United States or foreign, in which the applicant has been denied licensure or authorization to practice medicine or has voluntarily surrendered a license or an authorization to practice medicine. a list of all sanctions, judgments, awards, blah, 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 that would constitute grounds for disciplinary action under the Medical Practice Act or the board's rules and regulations.
But where does it say they have to disclose this?
It's further down. The applicant shall be held responsible. Check this out. You know, if they had a trust but verify option like this for getting a GRT license, or what do you call that? A business license. You know how smoothly things would go? You would actually have a 1-stop rather than a 5-stop or a 13-stop. But doctors get to have a trust by verify. Trust, but later verify clause. The applicant shall be held responsible for verifying to the satisfaction of the board the validity of all credentials required for his or her medical licensure. Give me a freaking break. Licensure, no, and then there are ways for this Guam Board of Medical Examiners, and mind you, many of them run their own businesses, meaning they're the heads of their own clinics. So it is to their benefit when they get to bring in a specialized doctor, right, who can provide basically a monopoly of services over, let's say there are no more urologists on the island, and Dr. Berg says, I'm going to bring in a urologist into Guam Radiology or whatever. Now Dr. Berg has the market over a urologist. And what if that urologist that he wants to bring in doesn't quite meet the standards of the medical examination and all that stuff, that all of those credentials at the top of this law say are necessary? Well, this board has the option now of licensure by endorsement and temporary special licensure. Basically, the Guam Board of Medical Examiners just gets to determine who comes in and who doesn't come in. This board has vast powers. And so the kinds of, what Mr. Lebowski is saying, that we get quack doctors here, it's true. It really is, and they're allowed in by the Guam Board of Medical Examiners.
And they're certified quacks by the Board of Certified Examiners.
Yes. Endorsement for certified applicants.
Quacks.
The board is authorized at its discretion to issue a license by endorsement to an applicant who
At its
blah, blah,
discretion.
blah, blah, blah.
At its discretion.
Endorsement examination. Notwithstanding any other provisions of the Act, the board is authorized to require applicants for full and unrestricted medical licensure by endorsement who have not been formally tested by a United States or Canadian medical licensing jurisdiction, a board-approved medical certifying agency, or a board-approved medical specialty board within a specific period of time before application, ergo 8 or 10 years to pass a written and or oral medical examination approved by the board for that purpose. You can go 8 to 10 years
Without a license, without taking that exam?
without a bona fide license.
Wow.
Yeah. Temporary licensure. So it doesn't stop there. There's also a temporary licensure provision in this, and this has never been updated. This is, did I say
1998.
20 years old?
21 years old, yeah. So, senators, if you want to do anything special and meaningful for the people of Guam, after you get on board with the Medical Malpractice Mandatory Arbitration Act repeal, you might want to look into this whole licensure thing. And yeah, doctors donate to your cause and all that stuff. Hey, but don't let that corrupt your minds, okay? Why don't you do what's right? But there's more to this. Special licensure. The board is authorized to issue conditional, restricted, or otherwise circumscribed licenses as it determines necessary. Never mind everything else. Never mind all the other standards placed into this. The board can just do that willy-nilly.
I'm getting a headache reading this. I really am. This is
crazy, right?
This is the endorsement for malpractice.
So here's the disciplinary action against licensees part. Starts on page 25 of this act. So the board can take a whole range of actions against someone who is accused of and found to be guilty of bad practice against this act. Revocation of medical license, suspension of medical license. Basically, this law has only ever been used to
against
silence
George
enemies.
Macris.
To silence enemies of those who are doctors and politically powerful. Dr. George Macris. Probation, stipulations, limitations, restrictions, and conditions relating to practice, censure, reprimand, chastisement. I don't even know what chastisement means.
Scolding.
Monetary
Yes.
redress to
Chastising, they
another
scold
party.
you.
a period of free public or charity service. Jesus Christ. Satisfactory completion of an educational training and or treatment program or programs. Fine and payment of disciplinary costs. Oh my goodness. Letter of concern. The board is authorized to issue a confidential letter of concern to a licensee when the board has noted indications of possible errant conduct by the licensee. Jesus. Okay. So the board is authorized to take disciplinary action for unprofessional or dishonorable contact, which should be defined to mean but not limited to the following. Conduct likely to deceive, defraud, or harm the public. Making a false or misleading statement regarding his or her skill or the efficacy or value of the medicine, treatment, or remedy prescribed by him or her or at his or her direction in the treatment of any disease or other condition of the body or mind. So, Mr. Lebowski's complaint very specifically lays this out as Dr. Miyagi presented false information in Asher Dean Lebowski's medical record that he conducted a full physical examination when Mr. Lebowski very clearly said in his complaint that this so-called examination took 15 minutes plus or minus a few minutes. So, and part of that 15 to 20 minute period involved a period of time when Dr. Miyagi wasn't even in the room for the examination. He had gone out and then come back inside. Never picked up a stethoscope. So, based on Mr. Lebowski's eyewitness account of what happened, it is very different from what the medical record that Dr. Miyagi finally filed and entered into the record that the Guam Board of Medical Examiners used in order to come to their decision. And despite the disparity in the information, the board still didn't see, clearly there was a false document that was entered, a false medical
false
record.
or misleading statement regarding the treatment or remedy prescribed by him.
If STA is using electronic medical records, that system will show his input while he was in the room.
And then the change.
And then the change, the add-ons.
Also the time, right?
Yes.
And they are.
So
they are using. They were one of the first clinics to upgrade to the.
But listen to what the
records.
Attorney General's letter said. It said that they do not want to require the divulging of more information because of the intricacies of this entire board.
Because basically, it might help change their decision if they were to disclose to him how they got there. Then it might influence them to change their decision, not to pursue legal action.
Number 8 in this says negligence in the practice of medicine as determined by the board.
So why would it change their decision if he knew how their thought processes were, what went into their conclusions? Why would the AG be worried that might influence their ultimate outcome? Because they'd be exposed.
It's the government's exposure to liability. Practice or other behavior that demonstrates an incapacity or incompetence to practice medicine. The use of any false, fraudulent, or deceptive statement in any document connected with the practice of medicine.
Here we go again.
Now, can you explain that
let's repeat this again. The use of any false, fraudulent, or deceptive statement in any document connected with the practice of medicine. Exactly what David Lebowski is alleging was done.
And they based their decision on the falsified document.
Well, there's another question that this whole thing, this letter from AAG, Rob Weinberger brings up. Who told him to write that?
The board. The board asked them.
But who's he taking his instructions from? The board may ask them to
The board asked them to do it because Mr. Lebowski already filed suit.
The board asked him to reply, but who at the AG's office told
Who else?
Rob
The boss.
Weinberger what their stance would
Who's
be?
the head of the civil division?
I noticed Robert Keogh's name was down there. He was CC'd. It might be him. And, you know, I find that very interesting because Robert Keogh is one of the best attorneys
Isn't he a
when it
defense
comes
attorney?
to injury cases. You know, if you hire, a lot of people like to hire him because he's really good
He's
at.
Mr. Lebowski's attorney.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why
right.
he
And
was
the Tidy
CC'd.
Goose. He's also the Tidy Goose
That's
attorney.
why he was CC'd. So I'd really like to know what his response was. I mean, we're not lawyers. None of us up here are lawyers. And we can see the problem. Johnny has a background in records and billing. And I know what she means because I've actually done training for the transition into digital records following the Obamacare mandate. So I know what goes into that. You know, how you have to have the billings, the J codes and all that. And this line right here, though, really jumps out.
A medical record is a legal document.
Yes, it is. And for express purpose, this very express purpose, that disallows any false, fraudulent, or deceptive statement in any document that is connected to the practice of medicine. And this is exactly the point David Lebowski is making. So I'm really, really curious how a good attorney like Rob Weinberger would write the letter the way he did in complete, I'm not going to say ignorance because I'm sure he knows it, but like disregard, in complete disregard of this law in its entirety, but of this section in particular.
Well, because, I mean, like I said, it seems that the intent of the law was to protect the public, but in the nuances of the law, it really just protects physicians.
Like you
and
said,
it uses
it's
the Guam Board of Medical
physicians
Examiners
policing
to protect-
physicians.
Yeah. Go to the next yellow part.
But you
Number
can
28.
see where there are elements that should protect the public. This is one of them. And my question just remains. Rob Weinberger has a reputation for being a very competent attorney and one of the more honest ones out there. So how could he disregard this section of the law? Completely
An
disregard
honest
it.
attorney.
Because
Yeah, I know.
Because it was the Guam
It's an
Board of
oxymoron, honest attorney, honest politician. But yeah, in this case, he's a
Because the
he's a
Guam Board
pretty
of
decent
Medical
guy.
Examiners deemed that no malpractice occurred. So go to the next one. Now remember, on October 30th, so on October 29, Mr. Lebowski first brings Asher Dean to the SDA clinic. He gets that shitty-ass examination by Dr. Miyagi. On the 30th, he comes back because his boy's condition seems to be worsening. He meets up with, what's his name? The physician assistant. Gosh, I can't remember his name, but he's named in the lawsuit. And after this whole argument, Mr. Lebowski says, you know, fuck it. I'm going to bring my son to, we have news from Congressman Nicholas. He says, you know what, I'm going to bring my son to the GMH emergency room myself. And he says, please have his records, please call up and have his records sent to GMH so that no time is wasted in his treatment. And so,
Roy.
can you cast to my screen?
When you are transferred from your clinic, that doctor needs to call the hospital to let them know he's the transfer of care, so there's no mishap.
And the law says this. So, the problem that we have in the case of Mr. Asher Dean Lebowski is those medical records weren't transferred by SDA for 3 hours.
Snyder, yeah.
What's his first name?
Ethan.
Ethan Snyder is the name of the physician's assistant. He did not transfer the records to GMH for 3 hours. That's 3 critical hours in Asher Dean Lebowski's short life by this time. Go back to the screen.
Our nurses at the
Failure.
clinic. Wait. When they have to go to the hospital, our nurse on duty, our doctor stabilizes the patient. The nurse on duty rides with the patient in the ambulance and brings the medical record with her or him. They check in at the hospital. She gives the record. She lets them know what's going down, and then someone has to go pick up that nurse. That is how it's supposed to happen. So there's no liability.
Well, that sounds like a good clinic. And that sounds like what SDA
that
didn't
doctor
do.
Relieving. That's Ethan
wait,
Snyder.
guys. Listen, wait.
That's Ethan Snyder right there.
That's Ethan Snyder.
Guys, wait. That letting Mr. Lebowski go without if they didn't take him if SDI didn't take him to the hospital, he had to have signed a paper that says I'm going against medical advice if the patient wants to ride in their own car to the hospital. I'll tell you that much.
That's Miyagi. Shin Miyagi.
That's Dr. Miyagi. Go back to my screen. Failure to transfer pertinent and medical necessary records to another physician in a timely fashion when legally requested to do so by the subject patient or by a legally designated representative of the subject patient. It wasn't just requested, it was demanded by Mr. Lebowski. Upon his taking his son to the GMH emergency room because Ethan Snyder was being an asshole and because he refused to have Asher Dean Lebowski seen by a doctor there. Refused. Improper management of medical records, number 29. I mean, all of these violations, violation of any provision of the Medical Malpractice Act or the rules and regulations of the board or of an action, stipulation, or agreement of the board, failure to follow generally accepted infection control procedures. This, I'm sure, applies in the Tidegly case. I'm sure it does. So here are the procedures for enforcement and disciplinary action. The board is empowered to commence legal action to enforce the provisions of the Medical Malpractice Act and to exercise full discretion and authority with respect to disciplinary actions. The legislature has granted this board immense police powers. This is perhaps the most powerful governing board on this island.
Well, that was the legislature 21 years ago, right? So it's time for the new legislature to actually update things.
In the exercise of its power, the board's investigative and judicial functions are to assure fairness, and the board should be required to act in a consistent manner in the application of disciplinary sanctions. Now, this is what's very important in this case, okay? The procedural provisions should provide for investigation of charges by the board, notice of charges to the accused, an opportunity for a fair and impartial hearing for the accused before the board or its examining committee, an opportunity for representation of the accused by counsel, the presentation of testimony, evidence, and argument, subpoena power and attendance of witnesses, a record of proceedings and judicial review by the courts in accordance with the standards established by the jurisdiction for such review. Now, so that all sounds like legit stuff, right? They are given a quasi-judicial function. This is a very powerful board. The board should be authorized to use preponderance of the evidence as the standard of proof in its role as trier of fact. This is a very important distinction. What does preponderance of the evidence mean? So, can we cast to Romeo's screen so that I can go to the preponderance of evidence? Oh, I'm sorry. No, cast to my screen now because I have it now. Sorry. According to Cornell law, preponderance of the evidence is one type of evidentiary standard used in a burden of proof analysis. Under the preponderance standard, the burden of proof is met when the party with the burden convinces the fact finder that there is a greater than 50% chance that the claim is true. This is the burden of proof in a civil trial. So, a 50% chance that it's true. This is a low burden of proof. Mm-hmm. It's in a civil. It's not like in a criminal trial setting where it's what is it called?
Beyond a reasonable doubt.
Beyond a reasonable doubt, and I don't know what that's called legally or whatever. But
Yeah, beyond reasonable doubt. That's actually what it is.
So this is probably a lower standard of evidence than what.
Just like the Civil Service Commission.
No, it's not lower. It's balanced. It's 50-50. If there's, in other words, if there's a chance of this being right, that's not like an extremely small chance or an extremely large chance. It's like right in the middle, 50-50.
So the question is, if this was the standard of proof, how in the hell did Dr. Shin Miyagi get away with it?
Like I said, there are a lot of questions that really come to the fore on this. We know how he got away with it over at the clinic.
We need to know if
we
they
know how he
actually
got away
did
with
the
it.
investigation.
No, they
That's
didn't.
another thing.
If it was, what's his name? Berg in charge. No, that's a shyster right there.
And hopefully, when this goes to court, it's
They'll
going to
see it
show.
all.
Hey, isn't that shyster Berg partners with your friend Roy Adonai?
That's not my friend.
But like they're partners over there in radiology clinic.
I don't know.
I never liked that guy.
But yeah, so the question isn't so much how he Miyagi and Snyder got away with this, and we know how they got away with
And
it.
then
We've
the people
seen
covering
the
it up.
Guam Board of Medical Examiners let them get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, at this point now, since it's gone to the AG's office, and now the AG's office has engaged, how is the AG's office letting them get away with this? Because it is clearly at least
By this law.
Exactly.
the own law.
By this law.
One
Exactly.
section alone, one sentence alone, makes it a conflict of interest. You know,
Well, the legislature giveth, and the legislature can take it away.
yeah. And if
This
they,
is the
so let's say
legislature's
the
law.
legislature does come in and they do change the law. You know, that's not really going to help David
The
Lebowski
Lebowskis
or
or
the
the
Titaguis
Titaguis,
right
no.
now, or the other families
Or the
that
Guevaras.
that Lebowski has been, you know, communicating with, is starting to come out. Like the women just last year, 2017, 2018, the C-section cases. You know, my question
Where they
is,
left something open, one of her intestines or something was broken, and they sewed her up, and then
Poor
it
thing.
leaked out. Oh my God!
but the thing is, even if the law is changed, it will not address the issue at hand raised by Rob Weinberger's letter, his response. Who told him to do it, and how did they make that decision to let them get away with something that is clearly against the law? The lawmakers tomorrow may change the law, but the people engaged right now in covering this up are going to get away with it. I'm just kind of getting sick of everybody always getting away with shit.
Yep. Here's another thing. They get to have informal conferences. Go ahead and cast back to my screen.
In other words, secrets.
Yeah. Notwithstanding any provision of the law, they always love that line.
Yeah, no
The
open
board is
government.
authorized at its discretion to meet an informal conference with an accused licensee who seeks or agrees to such a conference. Meaning everything's done in secret. And they get that's notwithstanding the open government law. Cease and desist orders and injunctions. The board is authorized to issue a cease and desist order. Board action reports. This is the part you were asking about. All the board's final disciplinary actions and license denials, including related findings of fact and conclusions of law, shall be matters of public record. Such actions and denials shall be promptly reported to the Board Action Data Bank of the Federation of State Medical Boards of the United States within 30 days of the action being taken, to any other data repository required by law, and to the media. I think that was it. Oh, no, sorry, here. Compulsory reporting and investigation. Any person shall be permitted to report to the board in writing any information he or she has reason to believe indicates unprofessional conduct. Just for purposes of this case, right? The following shall be required to report to the board promptly and in writing any information that indicates a licensee is guilty of unprofessional conduct. All physicians licensed under the Act. So, where were all the SDA doctors in reporting this misconduct? All licensed healthcare professionals, again, where were the nurses, doctors, and physicians assistants at SDA?
Being threatened
and
with
at
their
GMH,
jobs.
And at GMH.
But you know, they do have some good nurses at GMH, but I also know they're very intimidated by their superiors and the doctors over there.
The State Medical Association and its components, all hospitals and other healthcare institutions in Guam, to include hospitals, clinics, managed care organizations, etc., all government with services involving healthcare activities. Lots of people had a duty and an obligation to report what had happened to Asher Dean Lebowski and did not report it. And they waited for Mr. Lebowski to file. They're not even waiting. They're all trying to cover it up. That's what's going on. They're all trying to hide the shit that they did against that ended with this boy's life. Licenses.
Do we
not
know?
covered.
I mean, who are the Guam Board of Medical Examiners? Do we know off the top of our head who they are?
You know, well, one is Dr. Burke, who's the chair. Dr. Annie Bordallo is the medical director of the hospital. Is on the board. There's one public member who is not supposed to be a physician. I don't know who that is. So now we're looking at 5 others who are doctors. They all have to be
I
doctors.
wonder if
licensed.
Dr. Eusebio is on that board.
I know he used to be the chairman.
Yeah.
Licensees not covered by malpractice insurance carriers shall be required to file the same information with the board regarding themselves. All such reports shall be made. I wonder if these reports of impropriety were ever filed by Dr. Shinshin Miyagi. Upon receiving reports concerning a licensee or on its own motion, The board shall be permitted to investigate any evidence that appears to show a licensee is guilty of unprofessional conduct. I mean, there's just every communication made by or on behalf of any person, institution, agency, or organization to the board or to any blah, 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 relating to an investigation or the initiation of an investigation, whether by way of report, complaint, or statement, shall be privileged. This is the part where Attorney Weinberger.
Mm-hmm. Weinberger.
This is probably the part of the whole thing where he's telling to Mr. Lebowski that he not only can he not divulge it, but he's not even going to ask because of this protected communication. No action or proceeding, civil or criminal, shall be permitted against any such person, institution, agency, or organization by whom or on whose behalf such a communication was made in good faith.
Yeah, that's a nice pamper on the doctor's ass they gave him 21 years ago.
There's just so much. Anyway, so the law itself has permitted this to happen. These responses to Mr. Lebowski, this whole we're not going to hold Dr. Shinshin Miyagi and Ethan Snyder accountable charade made possible
And it's
by your
not, like
Guam
you said, though,
legislature.
it's not even just those two. Those two had a hand in this boy's death, but how many other doctors and healthcare professionals at the SDA clinic, at GMH, on the Board of Medical Examiners also share in culpability for the cover-up and the lack of due diligence on their part in reporting as is required by law.
No. Yep.
So
It's so sad. And hopefully senators change things. Of course, like you said, it's not going to change what happened in the Lebowski case. It's not going to affect the Tydegree case. But as Mr. Lebowski and the Tydegrees are trying to do, they're trying to make changes not because they can ever bring their children back from the dead, because they don't want to ever see another child suffer like this.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're doing this. And so that is part of our advocacy. We're advocating for them. Like, we're behind you 150%, you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't have anything else to say about
Well, actually, this story with David Lebowski and poor Asher always kind of brings me down. And, tonight's my Sabbath, and I don't want to leave out on a note like this. And I don't think we want to leave our viewers on such a down note. It's just a challenge that we have to face, and we have to work toward changing.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to call out the Attorney General's office right now because I have my suspicions. I don't see Rob Weinberger doing this on his own volition. There had to be some direction, and why is that direction coming in that way? But that said, while you were reading through this law,
Mm-hmm.
we received a message from the congressman. Go to your WhatsApp. I think you see if you can share that picture. I don't have one of those fancy new phones, so I can't swipe and throw it over there. But
Oh, here we go. Let me download.
yeah, this is a really great message over here. So apparently, our hearts are with you, David Lebowski, and your family,
Go ahead
and with the
pass my screen.
Tydegree. But we're going to go to a more positive news story. Guam congressman visits Guam soldiers at Al Udeid Air Force Base in Qatar. So our congressman is in the Middle East visiting some of our
Cool.
service members. Congressman San Nicolas wants to let the Trelahi, Pineda, Rivera, Patricio, and Carbolito families know that your sons and daughters and your loved ones are safe, smiling, and strong, serving their country in the Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar.
Very
and
cool.
here we see a picture of those handsome young men and women. Look at Mike in his fatigues. Our
No,
con-
that's an
Island
island print
print
shirt. I know.
shirt.
I thought it was fatigues too.
I thought it was fatigue. See, even with glasses, right? During the August recess, the financial services received top secret and classified briefings overseas on AFRICOM, EUCOM, and CENTCOM, and he was able to have lunch with some of the troops over there. It was so nice to share stories, he says, of home and exchange words of encouragement with our soldiers. Congressman added that he was asked what he asked. Oh no, he added, I was asked, what can our families do to help support you? And he replied to them, just have them take care of you because you're taking care of all of us. Oh,
Aw.
isn't that nice? So a special message from a dad to his son. Congressman San Nicolas shares, Xavier, your daddy can't wait to meet you. and is hoping to be there in time for your first Christmas.
Aw.
Oh, that's cool. So apparently one of these fellas here is a new daddy. And
Or baby on the way.
Thank you so much
Well,
for
First
your
birthday,
service.
yeah.
his first Christmas. So either this kid is new or he's gonna be coming out around
And his
Christmas.
dad hasn't met him yet.
And that's a photograph of some of the service members.
So one of them is the lucky dad.
Yes.
Oh no, well, actually maybe not. It could be just someone who he met
No,
who's not in the picture.
he says a special message from a dad to his son. Yeah, you're right. He might not even be in that photograph, but whoever it is, congratulations on the new kid, and hope to see you at home on Christmas. And
Thank you
wish
for
you
your
all
service.
Yes, thank you for your service. You can cast off my screen now, Chilling.
So that's a good news story for the end of the night, and we just got that
Yeah,
in. So
that's very nice.
Wow. Okay. So you might want to go through some comments real quick
Yeah,
before we
let's
get
do
out of
that.
here. There's a message that I promised to share with you. I got in reference to you giving credit to the current board at the port, along with Rory, the new GM.
Mhm.
We have a follower who says, "Excuse me, the current board." I don't think they're very big fans of the current board.
Okay, maybe not the current.
Actually, they said lame asses. And
Just one of them.
then another message is, you know what burned me up was remembering that Joman the Jabba was out for nearly a month, her first 2 months on the job, because of her father's death. Then she got a raise when she came back. And then another person says, Joman took a lot of trips when she was GM.
Yeah, she did. I mean the swim between the Western Pacific and the western coast of the United
She
States,
must, I wonder if they paid her
where,
mileage.
where she was home ported.
Or she paid for a whole row on the plane.
That way, well, no plane.
With the
Sister, that was
with the
Flying
raises she was
aquariums?
getting and whatever, she could pay for the whole row on the plane.
She was swimming.
The whole row.
It's a heavy plane. The pilot's probably like, oh shit.
I'm sure one of those big transporters.
Any more comments?
Yes, David Lebowski says, Snyder refused to let us see a doctor at SDA and refused to check his records. Never told me how sick Asher was. I asked for a referral to the hospital, and Snyder said he will call. GMH is 4 minutes away, and when they told me an ambulance takes 30 minutes to get there. But wouldn't let Asher see a doctor. Finally enough, and I left. I remember that part of the story. Half an hour to get an ambulance from SDA to GMH, literally right down the road.
That guy didn't want to wait for an ambulance to come.
For the viewers who want to, our viewers go through the comments as much as we do. You can read David Lebowski's comments on this, and
Yeah, no full physical. It takes 20 minutes to get from the when you get weighed and your blood pressure and all that into the doctor's room. It takes 20 minutes for that.
Yeah. Joseph Tidegui writes, that might be one of the reasons why we go to St. Luke's and PI for medical checkups, because we have crack doctors practicing in Guam.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people tuning in. Richard Wittenbach Santos just woke
Hi,
up.
Doc.
His last day in Portland. He's flying on to Houston to move into a large house in the western suburb of Katy. I guess he wants you and your viewers to know his phone number and email will stay unchanged.
Thanks, Doc.
Well, happy trails, Doc. And thank you for following Candid News.
I love what Shelly says.
Shelly Gibson, huge karmic debts. They say payback's a bitch. Yeah, so is Joe Man Brown. I'm going to give that a nice big heart.
There's an appropriate song for the theme of tonight's show, which is really the theme of many of tonight's shows. And it's about greed and the almighty dollar. Little Mampus Pat said they're all greedy.
Hey, she's Christian. She's a Christian.
She said that she's a Christian. But don't believe her because she's a bullshit. She's a bullshit, Pat. Bullshit.
Okay, Coconut Man,
I want to bob my head and dance, but I'm gonna get the laughs.
Go ahead, Troy.
Coconut man? Who said coconut man? Who is this?
It's Jessie J. She's British. She's British, not Jamaican.
You are stuck
So
in your 90s,
serious. Damn mysterious.
huh? You know you won't see.
Oh, I'm deciding what I'm gonna eat next.
Time. Everybody look to the right.
Well, you're gonna get a cut.
Playing with love tonight.
Good night, Guam. We love you.
Love you.